Hello, everybody, and welcome. This is the Apostate Prophet, together with David Wood, Act 17 Apologetics, in the house. How's everybody doing? I don't know if we are appearing already. We should be appearing.
I see us.
I see us. I see us too. Wonderful. I don't even need to check. I don't even need anyone to check. I can just check from here. But anyways, we are live again, everybody. As announced recently, we are wanting to do this on a regular basis, like every week, possibly, alternating between my channel and David's channel. This week we are on this channel, and we are honored to sit here. At least I'm honored. I can't speak for David. So, David, how are you doing?
Pretty good. You got Sam Shamoon, unfortunately, talking trash in the chat. He needs attention. They call him Hater Sam for a reason. He has to go around hating on everyone else's live streams, especially when the live streams are huge, like ours are, and not, just a few people like his boring live streams are. So, yeah. Oh, by the way, someone shouted apostatize earlier. And I was thinking, it's cool for people to come up with names for their viewers, like their tribe, like John McCrae has meme team, right? Because his channel, what do you meme? So he calls his subscribers and stuff the meme team is regular viewers, but yours could be the apostatizers. What's up, apostatizers?
That actually sounds good.
Sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, it sounds dope. Wonderful. I recently snuck on Sam Shamoon's channel while he was having a live chat, and I heard how he was complaining that David Wood and Apostate Prophet have so many subscribers and he doesn't have many, and he wants to have just as many as David Wood and Apostate Prophet.
Yeah, but think about that. One, he's so boring. Who's going to watch him, right? Two, think about this, right? Our credibility is on the line, right? Yeah. People listen to us because they trust us. If we were to say, hey, everyone, go over to Sam Shamoon's channel, and they go over there and like, this is the worst, most boring, horrible live stream I've ever seen. The guy looks like a complete moron. He sounds like a moron. Why am I watching this? This is the worst advice anyone has ever given me. And then they don't watch our stuff anymore, right? So he's telling us to commit YouTubeicide and kill our own channels by promoting him.
Yeah. I didn't say that. You said that. Okay, Sam, don't blame me. He said it. I'm not saying that. Okay, wonderful. How is everybody doing? Everyone, just let me know quickly if you are okay, if everything is fine, if you have any questions in advance, if there is anything you want us to know. You know what I really want, what I dream of? I have this thing for a long time. We sit here and we have these live chats and we talk to people. People view us and they make comments, and I would love to actually to see everyone who is here. Like to communicate directly to everyone, to directly interact and see how they are doing, what they are doing, what they want to say. To hear everybody. I've been thinking so much recently about how amazing it would be to create a new world, a new generation of social media, not like Facebook, not like Twitter, not like YouTube, not like any of those. It should be a virtual reality place where influencers, educators, or just little unimportant people like me who have a story, where we go out and speak, share our opinions and speak to the public, do whatever we do here on YouTube. And then people actually have their own characters, are actually in this VR place, in this VR world, and actually join us and, join us in a big hall, in a big virtual room, and we can interact with each other.
We did do something like that with our patrons, because Zoom allows you to have up to 100 people. So it's not good if you, it's not good if you have 549 people on there, but it would be cool. I don't know if there is something like that out there, but it would be cool if they're,
That would be amazing. Yeah. So if anyone wants to develop something like that, if I had the funding, if I had the technology, I would love to do something like that. That would be my dream thing. I would then have fulfilled my my purpose, my mission in this world, and then I could go in peace. But if anyone wants to work toward that, please do that and save humanity. Make the flow of ideas, of information easy for all of us, so that everyone can share whatever is on their mind everywhere. That would be amazing. Anyways, just a
Yep.
thought.
Yo. So we've got some stuff we already wanted to discuss, but I noticed a lot of people asking about Christian Prince versus Muhammad Hijab. I haven't watched it yet. It came out a few days ago where they had something where Christian Prince called him in. I haven't seen it because wrestling season started this week, and I have a couple kids who are doing wrestling, and one of my sons, who's 9th grade, he's a freshman. He was good enough to be on the varsity team, so he's on junior varsity and varsity. And he's wrestling up a weight class on varsity. So anyway, it's just insane. But anyway, everything started this week. So I haven't even posted videos in the last couple of days. But AP, I don't know if you watched that exchange yet, but I've seen a lot of people talking about it, a lot of people, not just here in the chat, but also on my own channel asking about it. So I haven't seen it yet, but what do you think about getting together in another couple of days? If you've watched it, then I could watch it too, and then we could discuss it. Or if you haven't watched it, we could both watch it and then discuss it. I'll probably try to get AP on. Christian Prince on sometime after that. But what do you think about that? Since it's dealing with Muhammad Hijab, which is kind of related to what we're discussing now, which is basically Muslim apologists who can be exceptionally nasty and insulting.
Well, I tuned in because I have a brief history with Muhammad Hijab as well, just like each and every one of us, and that's usually very, very dirty. By the way, Sam Shamoon said, "I'm scared since Muhammad Hijab is going to beat me. Save me, David." But yeah, I saw that they were planning on making a debate. So I tried tuning in. I didn't really have much time. I saw that nothing was really happening. I left. Later, I looked again, and they were just kind of yelling over each other, as far as I had seen at some point. They weren't really listening to each other. And the thing is that it was hosted by Ali Dawa and Muhammad Hijab, and it was on their Skype. So they just kept muting him.
And yeah, notice the cowardice, by the way, right? Notice the cowardice. I mean, you could have someone on and so on, but if they're talking about a debate and hey, let's do a debate, that should be okay. Here is some other person's platform, and we know we can trust this person to remain neutral, and we'll both call into that person's platform who isn't going to, or there would have to be some agreement ahead of time. We're not now. Here's the problem with someone like here's a problem with someone like Muhammad Hijab. Even if you were to make an agreement and say, hey, we agree that we're not going to mute you if you come on our channel, you have no basis for thinking that they would honor that, because they don't believe that they have to honor agreements with people like us. They can, and what's even more disturbing is their fans don't have a problem with it, right? If you say, hey, I made this agreement and he completely violated every part of it, his fans are like, well, you deserve it because you talk trash about Muhammad or because you insult Islam or something like that, so you deserve it. So they have no concept of integrity. Whereas your followers, atheists, I mean, you have a lot of Christian followers, a lot of atheist followers, and so on. I have
everyone.
Yeah. I have everyone too. Probably primarily Christians, but if I were to make an agreement with someone and then completely violate the agreement, if it could be the nastiest person in the world. If I made an agreement with them and then I broke it, it would be my fans saying, David, that's messed up. You need to apologize. You need to repent of that. Your fans would be the exact same way. Christians and atheists and everyone else, everyone in between, would be telling you, hey, you shouldn't have done that. Whereas for some reason, once you get to one certain ideology, integrity, honesty, they all go out the window. And the underlying factor seems to be, we worship a God who brags about being the best of deceivers, and we serve a prophet who said that war is deceit. And so if we are in some sort of war with people, our goal is to deceive them. And so anyway, that's just a sad situation that we're in. And by the way, you can even see this. You can even see this over in the chat. Looking at a comment, David, you Syrian guy should finally come out from the closet and admit publicly that you are gays. Why is this like the level of dialogue?
The discourse, yeah.
You're gay. I mean, that was like the level of mocking and insulting people, like when I was in like 3rd grade. You're gay, and that's like the pinnacle. It's like the pinnacle of these guys who are like 25, 30, 40 years old, and that's still how they go. They never grow out of that like 3rd grade insult mindset.
Well, okay, to be very honest, it is very prominent among in Muslim culture that people insult each other with gay. That's like the number one thing to say. It is very popular because it doesn't go at all in that culture, and that's why people use that as a primary insult for people they want to humiliate, like you and me, because otherwise they cannot humiliate us. Otherwise they cannot find any way to actually harm us or to anger us, which is why they need to call us gay. By the way, who is Syrian, you idiot? Who is a Syrian here?
Maybe that's another insult. He's trying to call you Syrian.
I'm Turkish. I'm not Syrian. It might be that you think that because of the big nose or something. I don't know, but I'm not Syrian. But yeah, it is very common among the Muslim apologists, among Ahmadiyya and this pact to break their commitment to make a promise and then not to keep it at all, or to be completely dirty, to insult, to lie, to slander, because in their ideology, in their world, they don't have to respect us. They don't have to stick by the rules with us. People need to understand. Non-Muslims and Muslims alike maybe need to understand that Ali Dawa and Muhammad Hijab and his kind are what they believe. They are in a sort of jihad. They are in a holy war against us. They are in a holy war in order to protect Islam from the enemy of Islam. In their world, as Muhammad Hijab explained before very clearly, by his definition, by the Islamic definition, David Wood and I and Christian Prince and all the others who criticize Islam are enemies of Allah and enemies of Islam. By the standards of Islam, enemies of Islam are to be fought. If you can't fight them physically, if you can't fight them with a sword and blood and whatever you want to do, then you need to fight them verbally and ideologically. And when you fight the enemies of Allah in order to defend Islam, then you are not bound by moral rules and by honesty. You are allowed to deceive. You are supposed to deceive. It is a primary element in Islamic warfare that you are supposed to deceive. It is Muhammad's suggestion that you are supposed to deceive, that you are supposed to play tricks in order to humiliate and defeat your opponent. Muhammad Hijab and Ali Dawa don't do that on a physical level because they are not able to, because gladly we don't live in the world that they want us to live. We live in a modern world where we have where we don't kill each other in the UK. Otherwise, they would lose their heads very quickly, and I don't want that. But otherwise, in an ideological fight, they will never ever respect us. They will slander us. They will insult us. They will break the rules. They will lie to us. They will try to shut us down. They will promise not to go against the etiquette of debate at all, but then violate it as soon as possible, and so on. I feel like you are wanting to say something all the time, and I'm not letting you. So.
Oh, you're fine. I was just looking at some of the comments. Elizabeth Iskander, going back to what we were talking about earlier, said, my Egyptian mother-in-law calls my husband gay when she gets mad at him. So, can you imagine this? So that's the mother-in-law talking to her husband. So that's her son. And when she gets mad at her son, she says, "You're gay." So that shows you how things are like over there. Also, Sam Shamoon said he thinks that comment was about him, the gay comment, because Sam is Assyrian.
Oh,
when people, so he thinks that was about him. So he thinks he was talking about me and Sam. And so Sam, when people hear Sam is Assyrian, they think a Syrian, not he's from the group called the Assyrians, which, people read about in the Bible. They came and, conquered Israel and stuff like that. So yeah, either way, guy's stupid and still didn't even know where Sam is from or you are from, depending on who he's talking about.
So no matter what, stupid.
Sam Shamoon was born in Kuwait, everyone. Kuwait. So if he wants a big channel, he can wait. All
right. Michael Gallimore said, what are your thoughts on the Turkish president threatening to convert the Hagia Sophia back to being a mosque? That is a threat that has been going on forever. The Hagia Sophia is the old cathedral of Orthodox Christianity, of Greek Orthodox Christianity, for all those who don't know. And then the Turkish Ottomans, the Muslims, conquered it and looted it, destroyed it, and turned it into a mosque. And at the turn of the century, at the beginning of the century, when the Ottoman Empire collapsed, Turkey was turned into a secular republic, and with Turkey being turned into a secular republic, this mosque was also turned into a museum, because it just didn't unite with the image of a secular modern republic. That whatever. But the Islamist government that is currently ruling Turkey has made numerous proposals to turn this museum back into a mosque, which is considered very offensive by many, especially by the Christian minorities of Turkey. So there's not much I can think about that, Michael. It's just absurd. It is disgusting, and I, just like many other people in Turkey and many other people outside of Turkey, hope that this Islamist government will be gone soon, because Turkey was on a good track of secularism and of modernism, and that shouldn't fail. Mm-hmm. Greetings to all the Turkish people who can sympathize with that. All right. Where's that comment? Okay, that's it. Anything else about you were talking about Mohammed hijab and rules?
No. I mean, we can continue talking about it, or you could take questions or whatever. What do you think? Oh, we wanted to talk about like how we should respond, right? Because we're dealing with an entire subset of Islam. Now, just to be clear, there are Muslims. I've known Muslims in my life that I would trust completely, but not all Muslims are like that, right? And some seem to base their views a lot more on their belief in a God who brags about being the best of deceivers, and on a prophet who says that war is deceit. If you remember, you find this in the Muslim sources. They wanted to kill a guy named Ka'b al-Ashraf, and they had to lie and pretend that they were interested in something else in order to get access to him, in order to kill him. So you see how this plays out. But there are apologists and their followers who have absorbed these ideals of deception as something good. If you're deceiving the enemies of Allah, then it's something that's good. And if you're deceiving their fans and followers, it's something that's good. And that's why their fans have absolutely no problem with it. But what's amazing is if you bring this up with them and say, hey, why do you guys believe in deception? No, we only believe in complete honesty and integrity. So they live these kind of double lives where they say, no, we don't believe in that, but they clearly do. Their actions show that they do. So even if they never admit it, they clearly believe it. And so them saying they don't believe it is just more deception. So the question is, if you have people who will gladly lie about you, make things up about you, slander, libel, all to somehow either to discredit you or to upset you, right? Those seem to be the two goals, right? If you can make something up about someone and get it to stick, then you have maybe reduced their credibility in the eyes of many people. And just so you know, that seems to be the goal in Islam, right? When we address a position, our goal is to refute an argument or to refute a claim. In Islamic apologetics, the goal seems to be to discredit the other person so that people don't listen to them, right? They're not trying to refute the argument or to show that it's a bad argument. They're trying to show that you shouldn't listen to the person and therefore ignore his argument, which is kind of ridiculous because the argument can be put down on a piece of paper regardless of who's saying it. And so the argument doesn't, whatever insults you're hurling at the person, the argument is sort of independent in that sense. So on the one hand, they do it to discredit a person. Oh, don't listen to him. He's gay. Well, his argument isn't gay. Right? I mean, he's got an argument. Then so what's the point of that? But it's this mindset where everything is based on authority, right? Who is saying it? If Zakir Naik is saying it, it doesn't matter how stupid it is. It's Zakir Naik saying it, so it's good, right? So that's the mindset. And so, but if someone else if some Christian is saying you can't trust him because he's a Christian, you can't trust him because he's a Jew. I get every single day, Jew. You're being paid by Jews, right? I'm giving arguments, and the response is you're being paid by Jews. Well, even if I were, which I'm not. The argument's not getting paid by Jews, so why can't you refute? Why can't you refute the argument or the point I'm making? So, it's just a sort of subculture where arguments are irrelevant. It all comes down to whether you should be listening to the person. If it's a person you like and you respect him, then you listen to anything he says, no matter how stupid and idiotic it is. And if you don't like the person, then you don't listen to anything he says, even if what he says is 100% absolutely true. And even if he's quoting your sources and your prophet, you still don't listen to what he's saying. So that's the one hand. And the other hand is they'll insult people to upset them, right? To try and distract them, right? So if AP is cranking out videos and I'm cranking out videos and we're blasting away at Muhammad, it's part of the goal, not just of Muslim apologists, but of people in the chat and so on, to try to distract us, right?
Yeah.
To come at us to try and get us go. Instead of blasting away at Muhammad here, I need to go focus on these guys and start blasting away at them. So and then just to upset us in general and get us off our square and things like that. So those are a couple of the goals. So yeah, well, probably ask one. Like to hear your thoughts on this, AP, because I don't think there's not necessarily any one right answer. There could be a lot of answers on different ways of responding that are going to appeal to different people here.
The thing is, as you were speaking, I just saw someone in the comment section. I lost the comment. It was from a Muslim that said something like, "Don't be a hypocrite, David. Your entire ministry is about mockery." But the point here is, it is true. David Wood employs a lot of mockery of a religion and of its main characters, and so do I. You know, I make mockery from the beginning to the end all the time. It started with mockery. It will never. The mockery will never end. It will always be there. As long as I make videos, as long as I talk in public about Islam, or I write about Islam, I will always poke fun at. I mean, I will always make fun of Muhammad, of the teachings of the Quran, of Allah, and so on. But that is not the point. You know, mockery is okay. David or I wouldn't have any problem with Muhammad Hijab or Ali Dawa Grande or all those other people mocking us. You know, we wouldn't have a problem with that if that mockery was attached to some
content.
To some content, to some proper refutation, to some proper intellectual deconstruction, to analysis, you know, to something valuable.
Yeah.
That.
Instead, it's all basically on the same level as you're gay, right? Yeah. That's their mentality. And so just so everyone understands, right? I made a series called Islamicize Me. We're still making a series called Muhammad's Boom Boom Room. And so we clearly make fun of Muhammad. AP has been in one episode that many of you have seen. He's appearing in another episode that will be coming out in January, where he plays Sigmund Freud, psychoanalyzing Muhammad. But so you could say, oh, you know, that's mockery. But notice it's all content based, right? We're making points, right? The mockery is a way of packaging the intellectual criticism of various claims of Muhammad. So it's a way of conveying information. It's a packaging of an argument, right? We're giving an argument, but we're putting it in different forms to reach different people in different ways. Where do you just, you know, oh, hey, that apologist is gay, right? Where do you see us like on that level, or where do you see us doing that? Well, yeah. So anyway, that's the situation here.
The issue is also we are the object of our mockery is different. You know, we are obviously mocking the religion. We are mocking its central figures, the ancient figures that belong to that religion, or the God that belongs to that religion, or the teachings that belong to the religion. We are not going out and insulting or mocking these Muslim apologists. That's not what we do. That's not what we focus on. That's what they do. That's what they are always known for. I mean, from the beginning, since I started this, it hasn't even been a very long time for me. You have been doing this for much longer. I don't know, a decade or so, maybe less. I've been doing this only for like 2 years, and ever since I started, I received so many accusations about supposedly having said that incest was morally fine, that I like incest. That, for example, is something that they have completely taken out of context deliberately, because you cannot possibly misunderstand that. It goes back to a conversation that I had with Armin Navabi, where Armin Navabi said we were talking about a rational point of view and how to view things from a rational point of view. And we were talking about things in society, and he brought up incest. He said, in some places there are laws that allow older people who are related to each other and who cannot procreate to get married. And he said to me, do you have any argument against that? Do you have any argument to say this is not okay? This is objectively not okay? And I started thinking about it, and I was shocked. I was like, wait, I can actually not argue with that. I cannot argue why that would not be okay. I could not argue why those two people shouldn't have a relationship, if they are too old and if they cannot procreate. That was the entire conversation. And then it was over. There was nothing being said about how incest is great, how I love incest, and so on. Suddenly, a year passes by, and I see these Muslim apologists who don't talk about anything regarding what I've said about religion suddenly say to me, well, you love incest. You think it is okay for a father and a daughter, or a father and a son, to have a sexual relationship? What are you talking about? and they do that, We don't do these things. These are
I looked at because you made a video about this, and you were posting the discussion with, who was that, with Ali Dawa?
Yeah.
The discussion you were posting up on the screen, and it was something like he was saying, "Oh, you support incest," or something like that, and you were saying, "No, I would say if it were not harmful, yeah, I couldn't have an objection against it, but it is harmful. Yeah. That's why I'm against it." And he would just, right after that, he would say, "So you support incest?" And it's like, look, either he is so incredibly stupid that he can't understand anything you're saying. Or he the other, even if we're being charitable, the alternative is that he knows that his followers are so stupid that they'll believe any stupid thing he says, and that they won't be able to follow your discussion or your point. And so he could just twist it into anything he wants. And his fans are so dumb that they're not gonna know what just happened.
Well, I find some fault in myself. Some people have told me that I have been too complicated in my response to him, because the thing is, when I talk about such matters, when someone asks me a question, I tend to go into detail and go into a hypothesis, and giving people a proper response that shouldn't leave a question open. So I told him. So he said, if there was no harm, would you be okay with a father and a son having sexual intercourse? And I said, wait. If there was no harm to a father and a son having a sexual intercourse, then I wouldn't have anything against a father and son having sexual intercourse. But since it is definitely objectively wrong, both to society and to the individuals, that a father and a son have sexual intercourse, I am against it. And
so you're basically saying, in some imaginary world where there's nothing harmful about this, and then I would not object. I would not have a moral objection to that, because I would have no basis for objecting to it. But in this actual real world that we're in, it's bad, it's harmful, and therefore it needs to be condemned. And he jumps on that. Oh, so you support it?
I even gave him an example. I said, according to you, Allah definitely exists. So if Allah didn't exist,
by the way, examples are not going to work. They never get them. These guys never get them, right? You can give 50 examples, they don't understand. But go ahead.
Yeah. I said, if Allah did not exist in your world, then would you be okay with not believing in God, with atheism? You would be okay with it. Mm-hmm. But since you are certainly sure that Allah does exist, you are not okay with atheism, and you consider it a perversion. Just like that, mm-hmm. If there was no harm to society from incest, I wouldn't have a problem with it. But since there definitely is harm to society, and we can even prove it, we have even proof for that, I am against it. And what did he do? Oh, so you support incest. Look, everybody, Apostate Prophet supports incest. Don't listen to him. Dump all his arguments. Don't listen to any of his videos.
Now, notice, I immediately understood your analogy, right? So, guys, you understand how analogies work? You say, okay, you don't understand how this is related to this. Therefore, let me give you this other thing that you should understand from your perspective. hey, you believe in Allah, so you don't believe atheism is okay. But if Allah didn't exist and you knew that, you would, in that situation, in that world, in that imaginary world, then you wouldn't have a problem with atheism if atheism were true, right? You're supposed to say, yeah, that is right. I wouldn't have a problem if it were true. And you're supposed to go, oh, okay, therefore, if we were in a different world where you didn't have these moral problems, then you couldn't say there's a moral problem and you're supposed to get it. But nope, you support incest.
I want to make something clear. I mean, all that aside, of course, Ali Dawah and Mohammed Hijab are very prominent for slandering their opponents, for insulting them, for saying all kinds of dirty stuff, for employing all kinds of dirty tactics. I want to say something. I want to be a little bit charitable and a little bit honest right now. I would definitely use every opportunity to bash and destroy Islam whenever possible, whenever I have the opportunity to say something legitimate against Islam and about Islam. Mm-hmm. But I want to be very clear. I was a Muslim too. I was a Muslim apologist too. I used to try to spread Islam too. As a Muslim, I would have never ever used the words that Mohammed Hijab has so far used online against his opponents. I would have never used the words that Mohammed Hijab used against me. Many people might not be aware of what he exactly said, but he said something like apostate prophet, might be sexually satisfying his sister and his mother. He might be luring them into sexual activities and stuff like that. It is disgusting. It is just disgusting. There's nothing to say about that. Fact also, my mother is a very pious Muslim woman. Keep that in mind, Muslims. I would say many Muslims wouldn't say stuff like that. I would have never said stuff like that because I would have considered that immoral, disgusting, a sin, and so on. I have to say that Ali Dawah and Mohammed Hijab are among Muslim apologists by far the worst, the morally worst, the humanly worst people that represent Islam. Islam doesn't have a very great reputation. Islam doesn't have a very great image. The online Muslim community, Muslim apologists, don't have a very great image. Islam is known for being angry, for reacting with anger to any form of disagreement, and so on. So to harm that reputation, that's very terrible, that really that very destroyed dark reputation even further is not a great idea. So my advice to Muslims would be to distance themselves from the language and the tactics and the personality that Mohammed Hijab and Ali Dawah introduced to Islamic apologetics and to the interfaith discourse altogether, because it really doesn't make them look great. People see it from the outside and they think, "Wow, Islam is terrible." If these people represent Islam, Islam is disgusting.
I want to comment on that as well. I did want to address a comment real quick. Someone had an interesting idea. Apostate Prophet suggested idea: live stream with your wife and David's wife discussing what it's like to be married to YouTubers like you guys. So I get to ask that question all the time. What does your wife think about you? Making fun of jihadis on a daily basis. What does she think of that and stuff? So your wife would be in the same situation. So maybe sometime in the future, we can either have them, they could do something together, or we could all just jump on. And I don't know if she wants to actually appear in the video, but it'd be a possibility. Now on the issue of Muhammad Hijab, you're mentioning that hey, it's kind of in the best interest of Muslims probably not to support these guys, but I'm looking at it from the reverse perspective of, isn't it awesome that these guys are rising in popularity?
It
right?
is awesome.
It's phenomenal. I can't think of anything better apart from the rise of the internet that will help us do more to expose Islam than Muslim apologists showing their true colors. Because guys, just think about it, right? You have someone like Shabir Ali come on, and he's very gentlemanly, and he reads the latest scholarship and critical scholars and stuff when he's criticizing the Bible and stuff, and he's very calm when he's speaking and so on. And he gets on there and he can communicate effectively and very, I disagree with his points. And I think that a lot of his conclusions don't follow and stuff, but he comes across as being very, logical and so on. He can make things sound good, but really, I mean, if you read the Muslim sources, is that the guy you would think is a good representative of the true spirit of Islam? No, I wouldn't. Right. So it would years ago, I was just thinking, wouldn't it be great if and back then I was thinking of people like Nadir Ahmed, because he was the guy who was like really, really like nasty and just saying ridiculous things and boasting and thumping his chest and stuff like that. As opposed to someone like Shabir Ali or Jamal Badawi, who weren't. They were polite and so on. And so I was just thinking, wow, someone like Nadir represents the spirit of Islam, reflects the spirit of Islam far more than someone like Shabir Ali or Jamal Badawi or something. And then you could take people like Zakir Naik and Ahmed Deedat and put them kind of in between. But then you have the people like Nadir Ahmed, which the new generation of those would be, Yahya Snow. There's a channel called something Muslim by Choice. Those guys, as far as I know, don't even show their faces. Ijaz Ahmed. And now, of course, more recently, Muhammad Hijab and Ali Dawa. But these are guys who do not care about honesty, do not care about integrity. All they care about is whoever's thumping his chest. They don't care about lying. They will flat out lie, even to their own people. They just don't care. They don't care if they're being honest, and their fans don't accuse. And you're sitting back looking at this and going, well, who is a better reflection of true Islam? And I would say these guys are, right? Not Shabir Ali, not Jamal Badawi. These guys are. But historically, they haven't been nearly as popular as the more gentlemanly Muslim apologists. But now, thanks to the internet, that's shifting. And all of a sudden, these guys are massively growing in popularity. And they're getting this sort of online mob supporting them. And so one of the coolest things in the history of forever will be if these guys become like the faces of Islamic apologetics, and we all get to sit back and go, you see what real Islam is, everyone? You see what now, those of you who are thinking rationally, do you see what these guys are doing? We give all these arguments and the response is, you support incest, right? And they can't understand points. All they do is insult and mock. They lie, they break their deals. They can't, they have no integrity on anything. And this is the face of Islam. Do you see this, guys? Do you see this? That would help us massively for people who are sincerely seeking the truth. That would help us massively to show people the heart of Islam. So that's why I think, guys, I really don't care when, if Muhammad Hijab, people are, it's a weird situation because, people like Hijab and Dawa, they're increasing in popularity, and a lot of people are going, I can't stand this, that these guys with all their nastiness are becoming more and more popular. And we're thinking, we don't want to deal with that. We'd rather deal with polite people. But you have to be thinking long term. Yeah. Who is going to reveal more about Islam? And it's these guys. So the more popular they become, if they get millions of subscribers, millions of followers, and millions of viewers, and then then their voice sort of drowns out, the polite Muslim apologists and so on, and to where these guys are the face of Islam. My goodness, they've just shown everyone what Islam is, and they've made our job so much easier.
Yeah. So basically, Muhammad Hijab and Ali Dawa are destroying Islam for us. They're doing our job. They're doing an amazing job. I've seen so many people who are Muslims or who are former Muslims, who are familiar with the Muslim community, and who really think that they are that Muhammad Hijab is doing a terrible job at representing, trying to represent those Muslims who try to tell us that Islam was quite peaceful and quite tolerant and quite sweet and morally supreme and all that stuff. You see people going on Muhammad Hijab's posts and say stuff like, hey, could you please, tone it down a little bit. But then you also see the same people supporting him and pushing him further and further and further. And that guy is rising and showing to the world that Islam is just I can't even find the words for it. I don't know. Did I say disgusting? Did I say terrible? Did I say despicable? Did I say what you know exactly what I mean. So it is good. You're doing our job.
Yeah. So yeah, the situation is there are lots of Muslims in the world, lots of Muslim speakers, lots of Muslim apologists, but even more so, just lots of Muslims that you would, meet in school or at work or something like that, who are who do have integrity and who you can trust in to keep their word and things like that. But it's because they're living much better lives than their prophet lived. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Most Muslims around the world lived better lives than their prophet lived. And so it's just very common to say, it's very common. I'm sure you've got this a ton, AP. It's very common for me to say, look, here's something Muhammad did, and to get a response, but I have a Muslim friend and he's not like that. And that's the objection of many people when we present information. But I know a Muslim and he's not like that. I know a Muslim, he doesn't do that. Right. We understand that there are tons of Muslims who live far better lives than Muhammad lived. But that's good. That's good for us. That's good for society. But if you're trying to get to understanding Muhammad, that's not helpful in understanding Muhammad, because you get a warped view. You think, oh, this is what Islam promotes, and it's not. Whereas when you start getting some apologists who are absolutely diabolical, chest thumping, whoever yells the loudest and insults the loudest must be right. Ah, you're gay. You support incest, right? And that's all they do. That's much closer. That's much closer to what you find among Muhammad and his companions. So if they actually become, my goodness. So my point here, guys, is you should all be, if you're Christians, atheists, whatever, if you're concerned about Islam, you should be absolutely thrilled that people like Muhammad Hijab and Ali Dawa are becoming more and more popular. If I didn't want to, if I feel like I should secretly send money to their ministries. I'm not going to, because I'm like, no, then I'm supporting Dawah or something like that. But it's in my mind, like, gosh, how can we help these guys along? So all I can do is just say, guys, don't be upset by these guys becoming more popular. Let it happen. Let it happen. Let them grow. Let them expand. And then once they are the faces, then we crush their arguments, and the only people who will be left is a sort of mob of people who can't distinguish truth from fiction. Yep.
Absolutely. Awesome. Well, I want to look at some of the comments and contributions here. Hindu Historian made a super chat before, said, sorry guys, you have to put up with this nonsense constantly. Thank you so much, Hindu Historian. Thank you for being here always. And yeah, that's what we are dealing with. It's from the very beginning, we knew that we will be dealing with all this dirt. So
now we actually know Hindu Historian, because he did join us in the Patreon chat last time. So what you were mentioning about seeing people face to face and stuff, we did know some of these guys face to face.
Yeah. Hindu Historian made another super chat, said, AP, read my message on Patreon. I will read it. I will look at it. Jenny Mertishin said, AP, are you familiar with Zarki cartoons? I watched them and I would love to see your reaction and commentary. Zaki? I don't know. I have no idea.
Are these about Zakir Naik, maybe? I don't know. I
have no idea. Probably Islamic cartoons. I don't know. I'll have a look. Thank you, Jenny, for the super chat. Thank you for the question. I'll have a look. Sanu Badua said, love AP and David Wood. God bless you both and your families. Thank you so much. Sanu, thank you for this.
No, he said, God bless you. You're supposed to say, I don't believe in God.
I don't believe in God. Don't insult me. I'm an atheist.
Side note, I got a comment here from HAHWB. David, when will you join atheism? I don't know if you've been following my background, but you can go to my YouTube channel and check out the video at the top, which is why I'm a Christian. I think the rational position, which is held by many atheists right now, as far as me, I've heard many atheists, given my background, given that I'm a diagnosed psychopath, given that I see absolutely no reason to be moral apart, because lots of people they're repulsed by the idea of hurting someone. Psychopaths aren't like that, right? So lots of atheists have told me, David, I don't believe in Christianity or God. I think it's all stupid, but I'm really glad you're a Christian. So please stay a Christian, right? So anyway. the point is, if atheism is true, it doesn't really matter what we believe in the long run, except for, what's going to help or hurt society or something like that. But you have to realize there are some people who would hurt society a lot more if they didn't believe certain things. So just be aware of that. Check out my video though.
Yeah. It is tough to be an atheist. It is tough to.
Hang on. Big Debate said, David, are you calling atheists are psychopaths? This is like what you get. You're supporting incest, David. You're saying they're psychopaths. No, I'm a Christian and I am a psychopath. Right? What I believe is different from my psychological problem. Right? You could be schizophrenic and be a Christian, or be an atheist, or a Muslim, or whatever. You could be a psychopath or a sociopath and be a Christian, or an atheist, or a Muslim, or whatever. I'm a psychopath, which means I don't feel remorse for bad things I've done. I don't form normal emotional attachments. I don't get upset when horrible things happen. If people die, it doesn't affect me emotionally at all. It's a defect. It's a defect in my mind. But something like around 50% of serial killers are psychopaths, and it's because they have no problem killing or doing horrible things. So no, the incredibly vast majority of atheists are not psychopaths. Some are, just as some Christians are, some Muslims are, some agnostics are, and so on. That's a problem in society. And just so you know, there are other psychopaths around. If you walk through a crowded stadium, you're walking by some psychopaths. It's a percentage of the population. Yeah. So just be aware of that. But no, I'm not saying atheists are psychopaths. I will say this: if you combine psychopathy and some worldview that doesn't give you some reason to be good, you're playing with fire. Which notice atheism would be kind of neutral on lots of these issues from my perspective. Whereas, guys, could you imagine if I'd become a Muslim? Could you imagine if in prison I had converted to Islam and started studying Islam's most trusted sources and concluded that the greatest thing I can do in life is go slaughter unbelievers in the name of Allah? Could you imagine that? Because I would have had no emotional resistance to that. And so it would have been an epic bloodbath. So atheists, be happy that David Wood is a Christian.
Awesome. Okay. That said, atheism is of course better. Which no. What
if by better you mean worse, then I agree completely. But
no, people have been asking me. So I see this recent thing. I saw that on your live stream, people asked if I have become a Christian.
Yeah, I was confused by that. Where did they get that?
I don't know. So, I don't know. I saw that in the last few days. People are kind of talking about something like that.
Maybe Ali Dawa was interpreting something you said, and so no, when you say I'm an atheist, but in some other world, if I'd been raised as a Christian, maybe I'll be a Christian, and they go, "Oh, you're saying you're a Christian, right?" Because we can't follow basic sentences, right?
No, I think I made a slip of the tongue in our last conversation where I actually did it. I was speaking of a hypothetical situation. I was speaking of tolerance and the intolerance in the Muslim world versus in the Western world. And I said something like, in a hypothetical situation where I go to the Muslim world and I say I am here to spread the true religion, which is Christianity. That's what I said in the live chat, and people kind of understood it as like, wait, did AP just say that Christianity is a true religion? But no, it was just a hypothetical situation. Chandra, I am not converting to Christianity. There's nothing like that going on. We are currently on the works of converting David Wood to atheism. David Wood wants to join atheism, but
hey, this is a little side note. Notice my followers aren't freaked out when I talk to you, but some of your followers a little freaked out when you talk to me. Like, don't let him convert you, AP. Don't let him. And that could be another reason. It could be like, they're not very confident in your grounds, but it also could be like they know, like, I promote Christianity. They know you don't tend to. Yeah, you don't care very much about being evangelical with your atheism.
Well, I guess there is a thing. There is I am more passive about my stance, about my worldview, about my convictions, while you are more active about them. Yeah, as you said, which is why I think some people think it may occasionally look like you might have an influence with your point of view, while I totally relax, sit back, and say I don't care.
Yeah, but Daniel Wijaya, though, says, David Wood, could you imagine if you give your necklace to AP? This is my samurai cross necklace. I bought one and I wanted one when I was in prison, and I saw it in a catalog, but by the time I got out of prison, they weren't making them anymore. And I eventually found one covered in dust in a Christian bookstore. So I bought it. And then a few years later, one of my friends converted to Christianity. And then he liked my cross. So I gave him my cross. And so I didn't have a cross for like a year because that was the only cross I liked. And then I was in another Christian bookstore at a church. It was just a little church Christian bookstore. And they had the same thing. Sitting down at the bottom of a case was this. So I got this. Me and Nabil were in this Christian bookstore, and I got this. But AP, just so you know, you ever convert and you want the cross, it's yours, buddy.
Thank you. I don't think I'll need it, but thank you. I'm actually working on something right now. I woke up yesterday and I was in this mood. I was listening to music that I listened to over the last years, and I'm really into. I don't know if some people here know Lorena McKennett. I'm really into her music, and she has some. She herself is an atheist, so but she just sings world music, and she sings all kinds of music. And there's this one song which is Dante's Prayer, which is basically a Christian appeal to God, and I find it beautiful. I still listen to it sometimes, and I kind of sympathize with the belief in God, because it reminds me of how I used to believe in Allah. And although it is not the same relationship as you have in Christianity, in Islam you are more the slave that crawls on the ground and asks Allah for forgiveness all day while torturing himself. There still is a relationship. So I was kind of thinking about the whole God issue, and I wanted to go live and talk about it, about what I think about the belief in God, what I think about it after all these years. But I think the time has come that I will go out and make a video on why I don't believe in God, because people have been asking me forever. People have been asking me if I will convert forever. I want to make sure that there's pretty much no chance that I will convert, that I will believe, because I have very solid reasons why I don't believe, which is why I will release a major video to answer that one question once and for all. So everyone who is interested in that discussion, I would also like to debate the God question afterwards with anyone, with Muslims, with Christians,
I'll do it.
with anybody.
Can you imagine how many people would watch that?
Would be good.
It'd be huge. And it would kind of show, hey, we can get along on friendly terms, unlike certain other groups who can't stop just lying about people if they don't disagree with them or something like that.
Yeah. I'll be totally up for that. I would debate it. So I'm currently working on that. I'm going to explain why I don't believe, and if I would believe, and all that stuff. And once I'm done with that, maybe we will have a debate here with David Wood and I about the existence of God. So,
hey, I don't know if I'm supposed to be saying this yet, but in April, actually, yeah, I don't know if I'm supposed to be saying this without conferring with the collaborators here, but what the heck? What are they going to do? Shoot me? We were several of us were at an apologetics conference a few weeks ago, and we're like, why don't the apologetics conferences are made up of like speakers, guys who go around speaking and stuff. What if the YouTube guys got together and had an apologetics conference of like YouTubers who are coming along? So it's like me and John McRae and Vocab Malone and Mike Winger and we invited Bobby Conway and a few others, but we're like, hey, why don't we get together, have a conference? But when we were planning, we were like, you know what? We should probably also have a debate as part of the conference. We should also have a debate as part of the conference. So anyway, April, AP, if you would like to debate, and the reason is we're trying to make it more YouTube based, right? Like instead of, we're trying to get the YouTube crowd, but to actually like get together in person for stuff. Because then you get to interact personally with sort of what you were just talking about. It's cool if we can actually see people and interact with them and stuff. So the idea is we actually go to places and then, meet each other and hang out and stuff like that, have a conference, but then hang out afterwards and like that. So anyway, that's the idea. But if you did want to do a debate at some time, and end of April looks good, we are planning on hosting a debate. We're looking for a YouTuber, and we're thinking one of the YouTube atheist channels and stuff like that to do that. But I happen to like you a lot more, so if you wanted it, that's okay. if not, or you want to, at some point in the future, that's all good too.
It is an interesting proposal. I would definitely consider it. I don't know in what shape and form and mood I will be. I was very much reserved this entire year. I was very much in the background, didn't go live, didn't go, didn't do all the big things because, many people who have been following me have know exactly why. But I'm more and more coming out now. I want to debate these issues as well. So it could actually be done. I don't want you Christians to gang up on me, but I would definitely consider a debate. That would be nice, actually.
Here's a comment. If David converted to Islam, he would be treated like a god by Muslims. Sam Shamoon and I were actually talking one day. We were saying, you know what? If we ever become atheists and we don't really care what we believe and it doesn't matter anymore, and we just want to get as much pleasure out of life as we can before we die, we'll pretend that we converted to Islam. We'll pretend that we converted to Islam so that we would be heroes and, have money showered upon us by all the people who treat us like heroes and stuff. And we'll do that. So if you ever see me or Sam Shamoon converting to Islam, it's because we actually became atheists for some reason, and we're trying we were trying to get rich somehow.
That is awesome. All right, what was I going to say? I was going to talk about the whole debate. We talked about Nadir Ahmed. We talked about debates. For those who haven't heard, I'm going to have a debate with Nadir Ahmed very soon on December the 22nd. David just talked about how he didn't have great experiences with Nadir Ahmed. I didn't have any good experience with him. In our last confrontation, he said I was scared of him, and then I suddenly showed up and said, "Hey, who's scared of you?" And then I kind of yelled at him and all. But then after that, he apologized. He said I was disrespectful. I would like to have a more respectful discourse. Let's have a debate. So
Nadir said that?
Yeah.
Just so you know, that Nadir Ahmed is the guy who comes on and he says, David Wood has disabled children because he's cursed by Allah. Nabil Qureshi died of cancer because he's cursed by Allah. But he doesn't just say that about Christians, which would be understandable. He says it about even Muslims. He says, now I don't even know if this is true, but he said that Shabir Ali was cursed by Allah with a blind son because he accepts that Jesus was nailed to a cross. Shabir doesn't believe that Jesus died on the cross. He believes that Jesus was nailed to a cross. And so that's why Allah cursed Shabir Ali with a blind son. Now, my view is usually, I don't know why God does most of what God does. I don't have the intellectual capabilities of understanding the things that God understands, but I would have an issue of consistency, namely that if you can just point to, look, this guy had it really bad, or that he had this trouble in his life, therefore cursed by God. My goodness, would you look at the life of Muhammad? Would you look at what happened to Muhammad's children? Look at what happened to every last one of Muhammad's children. Look what happened to them. Look at his agonizing life for the last 3 years, when he got to the point where he had to walk around between two of his followers carrying him. He couldn't walk, so his feet would just be dangling on the ground behind him like Weekend at Bernie's. And Aisha said, of all the things that Aisha saw in her life, right, all the battles and death and bloodshed and stonings and everything else she saw in her life, she said that she never saw anyone go through more pain and agony than Muhammad did. So this is Muhammad. If you want, so the point is, if you want to point to anyone and say, wow, that person is clearly cursed by God, even according to the Muslim community itself, even according to the mother of the faithful, Aisha, Muhammad had it worse than anyone she had ever seen in terms of pain and agony. So you should say that. But anyway, I'll tell you about Nadir. He says horrible things like that. And so he's going to come up with some way of saying you're cursed. And And at the same time, he's going to be on stage. He's going to be thumping his chest going, everyone is running from me. Everyone is terrified of me because they're terrified of my arguments. When in reality, Nadir, he comes out of nowhere every probably 5, 6, 7 years. He starts running his mouth. We get sick of it. We all debate him. We crush him. He's embarrassed, and then we don't hear from him for another several years. And then he shows up again. Well, you're caught right in this period where all of a sudden he's showing up again, thumping his chest. And so
he was talking about me. I heard that he was saying everywhere that he wants to debate Apostate Prophet, but Apostate Prophet keeps running from him. And I was like, wait, who's not there?
That's the thing. He'll say all these people are running from him when it's either the vast majority of people have never heard of him because he's completely insignificant. He has no following anymore. The reason he has no following anymore is because he's been so utterly humiliated. The last time I debated him was in a church, and I walked off stage. And the pastor goes, he looks sad and he goes, it was like you were just clubbing a baby seal up there. and so that's the view. After the debates, Muslims come to us, go, why are you debating this guy? Stop debating him. He's embarrassing us, right? And so
that's good to know.
Yeah. So then he disappears for a while, and then he comes back, and everyone is running from me. So the only people. There are basically two categories of people. There are people who never heard of him, and there are people who don't think, what's the point? What's the point of crushing this guy yet again? Nevertheless, if he's out there running his mouth and you want to teach him a little lesson, then it's always there.
Well, I don't know. I saw these people. I saw Mohammed Hijab asking me for a debate by calling me a cockroach and my people sheep. And I thought, no, dude, I'm not going to accept that. So I just compared that to Nadir Ahmed, who apologized to me, and I thought, well, if this guy really insists so much, then I'll just have a debate with this guy and see how it goes. And the topic is the scientific mistakes of the Quran. So what can you expect? So
it's actually a good topic.
Yeah. So
I'll watch that.
I'll have that on December 22nd. It will be on Aaron Ross' channel, who is particularly popular among our Christian viewers. And it will be on his channel. It will be moderated by him and hosted by him.
That's actually a good setup there.
Yeah. So that will happen on December 22nd. Everyone who wants to tune in, do that and see how that goes. I don't want to make predictions. I don't want to boast about anything. It's my first debate too, actually. My first actual debate. See how it goes. Maybe I'll be totally destroyed and humiliated, and then I will delete the channel and everything. I don't know. We'll see.
That's what they think. Whereas, put it this way, the only way for someone like Nadir Ahmed or Ali Dawa or Mohammed Hijab, something like that, the only way they're going to score points in a debate is if they're just heaping abuse on you, and this gets the crowd revved up because the viewers revved up because they're happy that they're insulting this guy who insulted Muhammad, or if they're just making things up, right? They're just making up all sorts of nonsense, which it's always short-term gain, long-term loss, right? Like someone like Nadir could come in there and say, and it's a miracle that the scientific miracles of the Quran, and this was just affirmed by NASA. He could just make stuff up if he wanted to, right? And that might catch you off guard if he makes something up. Yeah. You don't know what he's talking about, but it's short-term gain, long-term loss, because right after they make something up, of course, later you would go look it up and you would say, look, he said this in a debate. I hadn't had a chance to look it up. I'm now making a video about it. It's just going to be an embarrassment. And you have a vastly larger following than he does, and therefore any deceptions on his part, you would be able to expose them far more rapidly than he would be able to defend them.
Definitely. That's good. Okay, I want to go into answering some comments from our viewers, all the super chats. If people still want to make super chats, I would love to respond to them, to never ignore them. By the way, all those who missed it, we are planning on doing this every week. On my channel 1 week, on David's channel the other week. So this is how we're currently planning on doing this, because we both like having these conversations. People like it, so it's very nice, very entertaining. So whenever you missed it, you can tune in next Friday around the same time, 8 p.m. Eastern time, and you can find us here most likely. I will not say always, but most likely.
Oh, hey, quick comment before I lose it here. Yeah. Someone says, I was a smart Malay Muslim until 3 days ago. Christian Prince versus hijab and Ali Dawa 3 days ago turned me into a murtad. Now I am smart, religionless Malay day 3. So this person has been has lost his confidence in Islam over the past 3 days because of watching that exchange between Christian Prince and Muhammad Hijab and Ali Dawa. So maybe we do need to check it out and then do some comments on it and maybe get Christian Prince on to discuss it.
Yeah. Okay. That said, I will look into some super chats first that I have here lined up. I cannot bring them on the screen because I can only see them in the studio, and I can't do that there. Let me see. Crusader General said the filthy prophet Muhomo was the original member of the LGBTQ community. Well, yeah, let's not do that. But thank you for the super chat and thank you for the contribution.
If you ever wanted to point out something along those lines, there are you don't need to make stuff up about Muhammad. You can always just the information that we know is damaging enough. So if you want to point out, that he had sex with a 9-year-old girl, that he took the wife of his own adopted son after causing the divorce, that he would have sex with 9 to 11 women and girls in the same night, not counting his sex slaves, that he would get in trouble for having sex with his sex slave and then make an oath and then break his oath, that he sucked on the tongues of little boys. That's pretty gross. So anyway, there's plenty of stuff you can point out just like that.
There is enough about Islam if you want to. We have so much dirt on Islam, you can never get through it. So really, just do that. DNA 250C said, stay strong, AP. We need you, man. Thank you so much, DNA 250C. And thank you for the super chat. I appreciate it. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your mental support, for everything. Kos Giludo said, hey guys, will you ever tackle Satanism? PBOY. No, I don't think. No. The thing about Satanism is that many people don't know about Satanism is that Satanism is not actually a serious thing. In the most prominent form of Satanism, people don't actually pray to Satan or don't do anything like that. It is just a movement of provocation. Satanists are usually people who just set up a place of Satan in order to provoke Christianity or provoke Christians, or to say, hey, we have a place of worship too, and we don't want to pay taxes and stuff like that. So there isn't really much to tackle about that, unless, of course, you as a Christian, David, you might want to. If you ever want to do something like that to tackle actual Satanism, I don't know. But to me, as an atheist, it doesn't bother me. So,
yeah, no, I believe that the different people need to focus on different things. Otherwise, like I could go after 20 different topics, but I'm not going to do them well. I think if you're going to be good at stuff, you have to just be focused on 2 or 3 things at most. So there are other people who come out of that background, who come out of a background of Satanism and stuff, who I would leave addressing it to them.
Yeah. Wonderful. Apple Goo said, you both are great guys. Thank you so much, Apple Goo. Thank you. We appreciate that. Joe Chandra said, AP, when are you going to accept salvation through Jesus? Thank you for the super chat. That doesn't come from a Christian, I believe. I responded to that earlier already. We are through that. SGT Lowe said, David, if you convert to Islam, watch out for narwhal tusks. Good advice. Thank you so much, SGT. Thank you for the super chat. Tom S said, AP plus CP, end of Islam.
Do you understand that reference to the recent jihadi attack? Yeah.
It was.
That's funny.
You want to go ahead and explain it?
Oh yeah. So the recent the London Bridge jihadi who was already locked up on terrorism offenses, but then was released, and then went and slaughtered a couple people and stabbed more. The guys stopped him with a tusk that they grabbed. So it was that, and someone had a fire extinguisher, and anyway, they're beating on him with these things. And so that's how they stopped him. And then the reason he got shot was he had a fake suicide vest on because he wanted to make sure he was actually shot and not that he was taken back to prison. So, and that, by the way, that's just the situation, right? Even if you see they've got someone pinned on the ground and stuff like that, if you see suicide vest, the cops are going to shoot you. Because they don't want you pushing any sort of detonator or something like that. So yeah, they killed him. But yeah, that was so. The idea is if I converted to Islam, then I'd end up doing jihad, and then someone's going to beat me to death with a tusk.
Yep. Good advice. Okay, Shreyas Basutkar said, what do you think about Hinduism, especially David? Thank you so much, Shreyas. David, what do you think about Hinduism?
Well, obviously I'm a Christian, so I don't believe it's true and so on. But this kind of ties into what I was just saying, that you can only kind of do a few things if you want to do them well. My first bachelor's degree was in philosophy with an emphasis in religious studies. So I did take classes on Buddhism and Hinduism and stuff like that, as well as Islam. But I generally don't like to comment on stuff unless I study it a lot, right? And I don't study Hinduism at all anymore. So basically, when people say, "Hey, why don't you make videos on Hinduism?" My response is, "Why would you listen to anything I say on Hinduism?" Right? In other words, why would you guys respect what I say, what I have to say about Hinduism, unless I were the sort of person who studied it a lot, in which case you could say, oh, okay, he's going to give an accurate critique of Hinduism. So something like that, I would say, hey, find people who study Hinduism and what criticisms they have or what defenses they have. But anyway, the point is, there are people far better than I am at that topic, so I would check them out.
Yep. As for me, for Hinduism, I didn't thoroughly study it. I know the basics. I read through it here and there. I mean, I sympathize with some aspects of it. As I mentioned before in a video that I prepared, just as I sympathize generally with certain aspects of religions and irreligiosity. I would nevertheless think that from my perspective, no disrespect meant, from my perspective, that Hinduism was just a historical answer, an attempt to answer the questions of the universe, the questions of humans. That's that humans couldn't find proper answers to. And I would say, just like many cultures went through different beliefs, different mythologies, different religions, that's also how Hinduism came forth. I'm not impressed by it, but I respect it. I hope that answers your question, Trace. But thank you for your support. Thank you for the questions. Thanks for the super chat. David the Goliath said, made a super chat and said, "Hey, David and AP, please make a video on Dhul-Qarnayn's story and how Muslim scholars are making excuses that he is Cyrus and not Alexander to defend the vile Puran." Please, Puran. Yeah. Please do when you have time. Did you make a video about that, David? Ever?
I made several videos pointing out the problem with Surah 18, verse 86 of the Quran, which, for anyone who isn't familiar with that, that's the passage that says that Dhul-Qarnayn, usually identified as Alexander the Great, traveled so far west, he found the place where the sun sets. Now, one of the problems, so you have the obvious scientific problems with that passage. The problem that it says that there is a place where the sun sets. 2, it says that you can actually reach this place. 3, it says that there are people who live there. 4, if the implication would be that the sun is much smaller than the earth. So there are multiple scientific problems with this passage. But one additional, and by the way, the normal response being that, no, he just saw a reflection of some body of water, and it just meant that he saw the sun reflecting off a pool of water. The problem there is that Muhammad in Sunan Abu Dawud, when he wasn't talking about Dhul-Qarnayn at all, just asked one of his followers, hey, do you know where the sun goes when it sets? And his follower said, no, you know, I don't know. You're the prophet here. And he says, it goes down into a pool. So Muhammad not talking about what some person saw or some person seeing a reflection, just telling his follower where the sun goes when it sets, said that it goes down into a pool of water. So that's all the scientific problem. But one additional problem there is that Dhul-Qarnayn is presented as a Muslim, right? He is historically identified as Alexander the Great. The problem there is we know that Alexander the Great was as pagan as you could possibly be. You cannot be any more pagan than Alexander the Great was. So it's another problem. It's a historical problem. So in recent years, Muslims have tried to identify somewhere to sort of avoid this. They've sort of they've tried to say that, no, this is talking about Cyrus, and then arguing that he was a monotheist, and therefore they don't have to deal with the problem of Alexander. Now, the but this is the problem in Islamic apologetics. They'll see one issue and they'll give some silly defense of it, not realizing that a much more thorough refutation can be given. And so it's kind of just waiting for someone else to give a more thorough refutation. And so that's, I'm guessing that's being asked here if we're doing it. Yes, I've been planning for a while to respond to that. And the way you would do that is if you look at the rest of Surah 18, when it gives the details, it doesn't just say Dhul Qarnayn went out and found the place where the sun sets. It says it talks about all of this other stuff that he did. And the problem is we have these stories, stories from even before the time of Muhammad called the Alexander romances, which go around and they're usually fictional. And it would go around talking about giving all these stories about all the things that Alexander the Great did. And you can go almost verse by verse, and it lines up with these stories about Alexander the Great. And so you've got these stories that are circulating during the time of Muhammad. By the way, you also have the story of Alexander the Great traveling so far west and finding the place where the sun sets. You have that story as well in the Alexander legends. But when you combine that with everything else it says about Alexander, and you know exactly who this is talking about. This is Muhammad hearing these legends told orally, because people told stories. You had travelers and they would come from different places and they would all share their stories. And Muhammad sat around and Muhammad just could not tell the difference between accurate history and just some ridiculous story. So he would hear this and he would pass it on as part of the Quran. And the problem is some of this is absolute nonsense. And so one, we know that this is Alexander the Great that the Quran is referring to. Two, we know that most of this is complete fabrication and legend. And so if you know that, then you have complete fabrications and legend in the Quran, which means one of two things. Either your God, Muslims, can't tell the difference between fact and fiction, or two, your prophet can't tell the difference between fact and fiction. And so you should be insulted that he is attributing that to God.
Wonderful. You basically said everything that I could possibly say about it. I'm planning a video about these topics. I'm currently planning on, I don't know, I made a list of all the things that I'm going to do next. And there are going to be some videos about the end time major signs of Islam. And the Alexander the Great story is related to one of those stories. So I will definitely go into that as well. I will talk about it. But yeah, David said basically everything that I could possibly say about it. Awesome. Thank you, David. And thanks for the question, David the Goliath. And thanks for the super chat. Courier 1971 made a super chat and said, Jesus is Lord. That is your opinion. Courier.
No, it's a fact. You just do not acknowledge the fact. So
thank you for your opinion too, David. Thank you. Elizabeth Askander said, I really want to see you two talking together more often. Love both your souls. Thank you so much, Elizabeth. I appreciate it. I really enjoy these conversations too. So thank you for being here. Thanks for the support.
Yeah. In fact, we kind of always, we every time we kind of get off one of these discussions, we say, man, we should just make sure we get together every week to do this. One thing we also thought of, because it's cool to have the chat comments and so on, but it's also cool if someone but sometimes people give a comment where we could actually give a better response if we looked up our sources and stuff like that to kind of prepare a response. So we're thinking about kind of a mixture where our patrons over on Patreon, we can ask them, hey, any topics you'd like us to address in the upcoming live stream, go ahead and post them here, and then we can just take a screenshot of it and pull it up. But at the same time, we can respond to comments in the chat. So we sort of have a mixture of stuff we've kind of put together some sources on. It can maybe pull some sources up on the screen, stuff like that, but also more off the cuff chatting.
Yeah. So dear patrons, we have such plans. Dear others who would like to join that, you can become patrons and can join in such conversations that would always be more accurate, in especially if you have complicated questions that we could answer. Favas MS says, why can't you debate Muslims face to face? Afraid? I don't know who he's talking to here. I've been in like 50 public. I've been in probably over 50 public debates with Muslims at colleges, universities,
mosques, churches. So I don't know if you're directing that to me. If you're directing it towards AP, he's about to have a debate, and he just started. He hasn't been around that long. So, yeah. and I would say that
I just thought it's so brave. Brace yourself.
Yeah. And by the way, there's kind of a reason that I think this stuff is going to be. I think there are going to be fewer and fewer debates, if I had to guess, and that's because with people like Hijab and Ali Dawa coming along, and then the debates are turning in more of they're turning into more of insult battles, but they require you ahead of time to agree that you're not going to insult, right? That you're not going to go off topic, that you're going to be friendly, but then they violate all their agreements. And so notice what happens there is that makes you kind of, why am I going to agree to debate when you're going to come up with all these rules, you're going to make me follow them, and then you're going to break all the rules you agree to. So that's the kind of sad situation there. And that's why I say, short-term gain, long-term loss, is that, when you have a situation like that, who wants to go and who wants to do a debate if it's actually just an insult fest? We don't want to do that. If you want to insult me, tell me you want to have a David Wood roast, and I'll sit there and you can all roast me. I don't care about that. But why are you calling it a debate? So that's just a sad situation. So anyway, I think it's going to be fewer and fewer debates, and I think they're going to become increasingly insult based, unless you ever get enough of the Muslim population who says, guys, just stop this nonsense. You don't represent us. We actually want people on stage who are going to carefully defend Islam. But sadly, that's not the direction things are heading right now.
I would honestly say, dear Muslim, if you want to ask me for debates, I couldn't care less about debates. I'm very serious with you. I really don't give a crap about debates. I don't think that way. I mean, I don't know why Muslims always think they're making a point when they say, "Oh, you don't want to debate Muslims. You don't want to debate Muslims." I'm not scared of saying that. I really am not interested in debating Muslims. I am not in the least bit interested, because I don't believe that there is a point in me debating Muslims. I don't believe that anything good comes from such an exchange. I would do it for fun.
Yeah, I actually I agree completely. And just to go back to what I was just mentioning, how I think it's going to be decreasing. There was 1 year, I forget what year it was, might have been 2009, 2010 or something. There was 1 year when I did 20 debates in 1 year, right? So I was going out. I would go to a location. I would sometimes do 3 or 4 or 5 debates in sort of one area, with various Muslims and so on. Notice that's increasingly hard to do, because again, they're just sort of turning into insult battles. So again, what's the point, right? Even back in the day, you didn't have to be interested in debate, but now when it's just turning into insult fest, thanks to your latest batch of apologists, my Muslim friends, what's the point? But even apart from that, even if you had gentlemanly Muslim scholars who are coming forward to debate, why do it like that, right? So in other words, AP here, he posts a video. If you disagree with anything he says, you are free to make a response to it and say, here's where he is wrong. So you can refute his point in that way. In one way,
likely, I will not respond to that video.
Yeah, but notice, in one way, that's actually a superior method, because AP gets to lay out exactly what he says and means and lay out his sources in a video. And then you have plenty of time to carefully reflect on what he says, to go through your sources, to respond to him and say, here are 3 points why he's wrong. And then if he ever decided to respond to it, he would know exactly what you said and he would have time to reflect on it. Whereas people are saying, no, you should jump on stage where our debater can make up a bunch of stuff and insult you, and you won't have time to look it up. And so he might catch you off guard, and then you're going to look stupid, and this proves that Islam is true. It's so, you think about this ideology, right? So anyway,
it is so childish and so stupid.
So anyway, guys, you should think of YouTube and our YouTube channels as one large ongoing debate. AP is debating, right? He's not doing formal debates on stage, but this is one massive debate. We're laying out our cases against Muhammad, and Muslims are responding online. We just have much better cases, and that's why certain people have to try and change the rules.
I want to answer a quick question here. I'm not through with the super chats. I'll still go through them, but here's a question from Mr. Miracle. It said, Could someone clarify quickly about the verse Muslims say to obey the law of the land? I will have to say, this is something that I want to be very honest about. There is indeed a law in Islam that Muslims who live in different lands, who live in non-Muslim lands, are supposed to obey the law of the land unless they are forced to do something that goes against their religious beliefs. That is true. This is a thing. Even the most traditionalist, fundamentalist circles and scholars will say this is true. If Muslims live in a non-Muslim land, they have to obey the law unless they are forced to do something that clearly goes against their Islamic religion. That is a fact. The thing is, it doesn't stop here. I want to do a video about that as well. I have been wanting to do that forever. I just don't. I don't know. I don't find the right opportunity to handle that topic. But the problem here is that it is true. Muslims are supposed to abide by the laws of the state they are in, but they are also supposed to spread Islam. Muslims have the duty, the compulsion, the obligation to spread their religion, their Islamic religion, in a non-Islamic land if they live in such a land. And if they spread their religion, and if they achieve a significant population, and they are able to change the country into an Islamic land, then they are also supposed to change the country into an Islamic land. And if the country changes into an Islamic land, then they are also obligated to implement the Islamic law, and are also obligated to abolish any law that contradicts with Islamic law. So when Islam says that Muslims have to obey the law of the land they live in, it doesn't actually mean anything good. It really in the end goes to something bad again. That's what it is with Islam. So you can find something good and you find something bad in the end. Anyways. Let me continue with the super chats. Onus made a super chat and said, "AP, are you a humanist? It's what settles debates." I am. If you are referring to humanism as a philosophy altogether, I wouldn't say I'm a humanist. I would say it is much more complicated, but also less complicated. I have a great sense of nihilism, not necessarily in the bad way as people know it, but in a good way. But I believe very much in a purpose of life that depends on your current life and the generations that come forth of it. But I would love to explain that very lengthily in a dedicated video, which I'm planning on making after I explain why I don't believe in God. But humanism wouldn't be the accurate term to describe what I actually feel about the world. But thank you, Onis. Michael Mary made a super chat. Michelle Mary. Sorry, Michelle made a super chat and said, "Apostate prophet, if you could know for a fact that God existed, would you want to know the truth? And peace and love." I said before that I would that I wish sometimes it was true, especially at the peaks of my anxiety symptoms. I really wanted God to be real, and I really wanted it to be true. So if God exists, I would want to know that he exists, because I used to be a very religious Muslim, and I really felt a lot of pleasure, a lot of joy in submitting myself in the dumbest way in Islam to Allah. I would definitely want to know that he exists, yeah, which is why I have always been a seeker, and I've always been open to it. But thank you, Michelle. Thank you for the super chat. Sorry, I'm going solo here a little bit, David, but
it's your channel, sir.
Jane Sobieski made a super chat and said, "David, you made a great video titled France and Recipe for Endless Terrorism."
Recipe.
Recipe.
Yeah, the video is titled Recipe.
Oh, yeah.
So that was just a little typo there.
Yeah. Okay. Can you remake with a more general context, but still including those very logical charts, how Muslims are led onto the path of terrorism due to their fear of hell?
Yeah, so the idea here is basically after some of the string of terrorist attacks in France, if I recall correctly. That was several years ago, but you had these terrorist attacks in France, and it would say, but this Muslim who just carried out this attack isn't representing Islam, because this Muslim woman or this Muslim man used to go to clubs and stuff. And so don't take this as having something to do with Islam. And so what I pointed out was in the video, if I recall correctly, because I'm basing this on the description right here. The problem is if you're a Muslim and you start taking Islam seriously and you realize, hey, I've done a bunch of bad stuff in my life, and you don't know what Allah is going to do with you, and you don't know if your good deeds are going to outweigh your bad deeds. The only guarantee you have is dying for Allah in jihad, right? So far from going to the club showing that this person's beliefs have nothing to do with Islam, that person going to the club is used by the recruiters to say, hey, if you really want to make sure you have forgiveness of all this stuff you've done, you need to go die while slaughtering unbelievers in the name of Allah. So I think that's the gist. But the point there is sometimes we make points in the context of a very specific terrorist attack or something like that. And then even though the points that were made could apply to all sorts of situations, not everyone goes back to that video because it's specifically referring to the terrorist attack in France. So I think that the request is, hey, maybe make that same point, but in a general sense of general terrorist attacks in order to understand the attacks that are going on. But yeah, I'm sure one of these days there will be another terrorist attack where this will come up about this not. Yeah, we wish it didn't happen, but it does. Where it's going to come up. Oh, this person doesn't take Islam seriously, and so when he slaughtered unbelievers while shouting Allahu Akbar, you can't trust that he really meant it because 2 years early he was hanging out with prostitutes and snorting cocaine. Therefore, nothing to do with Islam. I'll probably make try and make something, but a little more general.
Wonderful, great response, David Store. So I'm going to the comments right now. Hindu historian said, "You are all welcome to post your best polemic against Hinduism on my discussion page." So there you have it, everyone. If you have an objection to Hinduism, you can go to Hindu historian's channel page and discuss it there. Thank you, Hindu historian. I appreciate you, by the way. Benjamin White said, would either of you consider making a video about how many Old Testament laws Muhammad broke? That is a great idea, actually. That is a fantastic idea, Benjamin White. Thank you for that. David? Yeah.
You could do that in a variety of ways. One, you could show, how many death penalties Muhammad would be under from the Old Testament, and two, you could do that without even going to the Old Testament. How many death sentences Muhammad would be under if he were in any modern country, or how many life sentences he would be serving. And so once you do that, then you got now notice the problem's a bit more serious. You're talking about the Old Testament because Muhammad affirmed the inspiration and the preservation and the authority of the Jewish sources. So if he's violating those sources, and it could be something, it could be a serious crime in different ways. But it could be something like Muhammad admittedly delivering a revelation that came from the devil. Those are the satanic verses. Muslims love to go to Deuteronomy chapter 18, verse 18, where God says that he's going to send a prophet like Moses. And they say, see, that's Muhammad. Well, just 2 verses later, God says that if a prophet delivers a revelation that doesn't come from him, then he had to die. Well, Muhammad admittedly, according to Muslim sources, Muhammad delivered a revelation, claimed that it was from God, and then came back later and said, the devil made me do it. He would have been stoned to death by Moses. So you have issues like that, but then you have sort of more minor things where under the Jewish law, and Muslims tell you can't eat pork because it's in the Torah. Well, the same Torah in the same passage also says you can't eat rabbit or you can't eat camel. Muhammad ate rabbit and camel, so he'd be condemned there. So it's just a strange situation of Islam where they say, we believe in that, and then they kind of pick and choose what fits, and then ignore everything that completely refutes them. But that might be a good idea for a video.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much, Benjamin White, for suggesting that. Another verse made a super chat and said, how often do you think Muhammad would just burst out laughing in the middle of dictating the Quran? I bet he couldn't keep a straight face. It's a funny thought.
I could actually imagine that. I could imagine Muhammad coming out. All right, everyone. I have a revelation. This is part of Surah 33, ladies and gentlemen, but the great God Allah has declared, he has declared, if you come over to Muhammad's house and want to hang out afterwards to ask questions, Allah doesn't like that. Now me, I wouldn't say anything, but the great God Allah, he says that you're in trouble if you do that. Oh yeah, he's the one saying this, not me. It's not me. You stupid morons. I can't believe you're falling for this. Oh, my goodness. So I can imagine a situation like that. Yeah.
Fantastic. I would definitely say Muhammad had some severe mental issues, but I'm going to talk about that very soon. But yeah, that's a good thought. Metaverse.
Yeah. By the way, what you just said, AP, that's my view as well. I think he sincerely believed he was a prophet, and that he had some serious mental issues. Although I have since I believe in spiritual evil forces, I also believe that he was influenced by some of those.
Yeah, I still believe he was pretty crazy. So,
no disputing that one.
All right, Great Emperor Doge said the 72 virgins lie comes from an unreliable hadith. No, several of the 72 virgin hadiths are unreliable hadiths. They are considered weak, but there is at least one hadith that is considered reliable by Islamic scholars and Islamic sources, so by Islamic standards, which reaffirms that Muhammad did indeed say that there will be 72 virgins for the martyr in heaven. And
a little side note, the more you do that, so you even have, you have talking about the virgins. This was, you can look up Sunan Ibn Majah 4337, a lot of passages in the commentaries and so on. The more you want to say, the more you want to appeal to the weak hadith defense, the more you're telling us that Muslims were making things up and lying about things that Muhammad said, and that these lies even ended up in Islam's most trusted hadith collections, and later had to be exposed by later Muslim scholars who are trying to decipher what's true and what's not. But the more you appeal to, that's a weak hadith, or that's a weak, and all these different Muslims were making up this myth. The more you do that, the more you're telling us that the people who had the Quran, the people who were transmitting the Quran, were the biggest bunch of liars the world has ever seen. And that these guys were, for some reason, were just making up stories about Muhammad like it was an Olympic sport. And you also have to deal with the problem of, you take Sahih al-Bukhari, Sahih Muslim, Sunan Abu Dawud, these collections, they have several thousand hadiths. So they might, 5 to 7,000 plus hadiths in those collections. But we know that they had to go through hundreds of thousands of hadiths to get these ones that they thought were most reliable. So they went through hundreds of thousands that they thought were unreliable in order to get to these that they thought were most reliable. And if you're telling us that these hadiths that actually made the final cut are also false, then wait a minute. You're saying that the vast majority of stories about Muhammad that have ever existed were lies by Muslims. These are the same people preserving the Quran during this time. How can you tell us to believe anything we read about Muhammad? How can you tell us to believe any of this nonsense? I don't believe in your hadith methodology. I think it is one of the stupidest historical methods ever devised by anyone. No historian on the planet who is not a Muslim already would think that this method, this hadith criticism, where you say, I got it from so-and-so, got it from so-and-so, got it from so-and-so, and you'll have 8 people on your list. No one would think that this is a good idea of how history should be done, let alone even worse, that this is the only way that you can know about Muhammad. But even setting all that aside, so we'll set aside all the number 72. Great. You still got the Quran. The Quran talks about your houris, your large-breasted houris that you get in paradise. So if you got a problem with that, my Muslim friend, great. Toss out the number 72. You still get a bunch of virgins in paradise, and you still get to spend eternity deflowering them. That's the heart of your religion. This is what you, as a Muslim, have to look forward to. You get to spend eternity deflowering virgins. What do women get? Well, they get to sit back and hope that you're one of the women that your husband calls upon, even though he's got all of these other specially designed sex slaves to choose from. So.
Fantastic. Okay, thank you. Sigmund Floyd said, nice.
That's
Sigmund
you.
Floyd made a super chat. Sigmund Freud, yeah, that's me. Made a super chat and said, please ask David why I'm blocked on his live stream. Can he please unblock me so I can also give him super chat dollars? If you're talking about a current live stream, there is no live stream. We're just doing this on here. Otherwise,
Sigmund Floyd. Well, I mean, I do have moderators over there, so I don't know why you're blocked. People usually get blocked for a reason, so I'm assuming you are blocked for a reason. I don't know if you're saying some mean stuff, but generally if someone comes on there and they're just trolling and posting nonsense, or if they're calling for violence against people or something like that, then yeah, probably me or another moderator will block them. So yeah, I don't know why. I don't know why you're blocked on there, but you can send me a private message if you basically look back to the last thing you remember saying and see if you remember what that is. And I'll see if that's a good idea for blocking you. But at the end of the day, if you're blocked for some good reason, I don't care if you're going to send me super chat. I don't want it. So,
well, thank you. Anyways, I will never get through these super chats, by the way. They're getting more and more, and I'm not going to get.
Well, that's good. That's a good thing, right?
No, it's good. I appreciate that. Of course. That's
AP can't even get through all the super chats. Let me go ahead and say it, ladies and gentlemen. Why don't you make it so that he can never even hope to get through all the super chats? That would be pretty cool.
Well, thank you. I appreciate all the contributions, which helps all of this. And also, yeah, super chat is an awesome way to get the message directly in front of us.
Little side note. Someone earlier said to me before you go on, because it's along the lines of the super chats. Someone earlier said, David, why don't you make emojis? Because I have emojis. I call them emojis because they're Muhammad emojis. Yeah. So Muhammad. I made some Muhammad emojis, which, keep in mind in the Boom Boom Room, Muhammad is kind of a likable character, right? We're making him much more likable than historical Muhammad. So they're based on our character of Muhammad. So he says, Allahu, Alhamdulillah and stuff like that. But someone said, hey, why don't you make some Muhammad hijab and Ali Dawa emojis? And I was thinking, man, you might want to do that, right? Because you need to you haven't made any channel memberships, but you can, right? You have enough you have enough followers to have channel memberships. And as I pointed out in my video on channel memberships, YouTube, the new terms of service that are going into effect in 4 days say that any channel that is not profitable for YouTube can be taken down. And it's clear why they would want to do that, right? They're looking for a justification to take down channels that there are complaints about and stuff like that, or that people who are saying things that they don't want said on YouTube. But notice people can actually block that by signing up for channel memberships, because then, well, the channel is definitely profitable. And if YouTube ever canceled it and tried to justify it along those lines, you say, my channel is profitable and I'll sue you for breach of terms of service, right? So, yeah, I would encourage you, AP, to set up channel memberships. And then I would encourage everyone here watching to support him, so that there's not much of a basis for YouTube to take his channel down. Because everyone, keep in mind, and I said this in my video on the topic, that YouTube, we used to think that since YouTube is a company, they can kind of do what they want. If they don't want someone on their platform, they can just kick them out, right? Just like if I don't want someone in my house, I can kick you out. I said, get out of my house. I don't want you here, right? I can't kick people out of a public park, but I can kick people out of my house because I have authority here. So a lot of us used to think that that's the situation with YouTube. They're a company, they can decide what they want. Turns out that is false. That is false. YouTube has a special status in front of the government, same as the other social media platforms, where they're considered a platform, an open platform where people can come together and talk. And this allows them to not be considered a publisher. If you're a publisher, you do control the content on your site. And since you control the content, you're responsible for the content. If someone says something false on your channel, then the company can be sued. So in other words, if the New York Times, if a journalist for the New York Times says something false in a journal article, the New York Times itself can be sued, right? You can sue the New York Times, not just the person who said something false, because the New York Times is a publisher who decides what to put on their platform. I mean, what to put on their newspaper, on their site. So YouTube and Facebook and Twitter were all worried about that. Wait a minute, what if some guy posts a total, slanders someone or libels someone on our services? How are we going to avoid being sued? The government said, well, we're going to give you the status of platform, meaning that you're sort of neutral, right? You're neutral. You're not deciding what goes on there. And therefore, if someone posts something false, you can't be sued because you're not deciding what goes on there. You're just giving other people a platform, right? So that's the status before the government. Well, that means that they can't be saying, oh, I don't like this political ideology. I don't like these views, which is why when they want to ban someone's content, they can't just say, we don't like what you said. They have to justify it, right? They have to give a justification. That's why they say, oh, this was hate speech or something like that. So it's actually somewhat difficult for YouTube to permanently delete a channel. Even when it was someone like Alex Jones, notice they had to say, oh, he repeatedly violated our terms of service. They had to justify it and put out a defense. Now, notice they couldn't just say, we don't like the attention this guy's getting on our platform. We don't like the things he's saying, so we're getting rid of him. They had to justify it, right? Because if they say we don't like him, they're no longer a platform, they're a publisher, and they're going to get sued into non-existence, right? So the point is, anytime they want to take down a channel, they have to be able to say, here's why we did it, and here's how it broke our terms of service. If they can't say that, then they could technically take it down, but they would be open to a lawsuit for breaking their terms of service. So that's why if they put it in all of a sudden out of nowhere in their terms of service that we can take down a channel that's not profitable, you have to watch out for something like that and say, okay, I see what you're doing there. I'm going to make sure you can't use that against the channels that I like. So everyone, please support the channels that you like. If they have a channel membership option available, become channel members, because that actually allows that channel to continue existing. If YouTube ever did decide to block it, they couldn't just say the channel's not profitable if it has members on it.
Wonderful.
So side note, but notice that was all to support your channel.
Long story. Long story short, support AP. But thank you. I'm currently about to set up memberships on the channel, so people can actually join, can become members of the channel, can have their own badges and post their emojis and all that stuff. I'm going to work on that. I didn't even realize that YouTube gave me that function until very recently. I thought they would never give that to me, but they recently opened it, so I'm definitely going to make use of that. I will come to that. So if anyone is interested in that will be here soon. I need to work on design and everything regarding that. If you want to support the channel otherwise, you can always support it with super chats here. You can support it per Patreon. You can support it with donations, and super chats is always the most fun way here during a live chat, because I will always see what you're saying and we'll read it out loud and respond to it. And speaking of it, we have to get through it. We always say we shouldn't go much over an hour.
Yeah, we try to stick to an hour and almost never do.
Yeah, and we are almost at 2 hours.
Yeah,
now, so.
we almost never stick to that.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, quick comment here. AP and David Wood, would you like to see Nabil Qureshi's book, Seeking Allah, Finding Jesus, turned into a movie? Only if it were made by a secular production company. Sounds weird, right? But I happen to know. Because a Christian company that puts that together will make us both seem super nice, and we were not. We were extreme jerks, and so a Christian company is going to want to make me like this perfect, nice Christian, and Nabil like this perfect seeker and stuff. And we were such sarcastic, and now we got along because of that, right? Because we could be nice to certain people. It was brutal. These were brutal all night long arguments. And again, I just seen, like, there was even a testimony video that they put together years ago of Nabil's testimony, and it had like a reenactment of us hanging out in the hotel room and stuff like this when we first started discussing these things. And they got me as like this young, perfect, dorky Christian and stuff like that. Like, that's not happening, right? I was like fresh out of prison. It's not how it happened, right? So anyway, some sort of secular production company whereas as long as they didn't have any problem with the Christian message, and we're happy to put that content out there and could actually make it look realistic, I'd be happy with that. But Christians are they ruin. Like, I'm just saying here, I would like to see a Christian movie about some horrible, messed up dude. And I know people, right? My wife's cousin was a heroin addict and a prostitute before she converted to Christianity. The point is, if you wanted to make a story, a movie about her life, and you wanted to make it realistic, there's going to be a lot of bad stuff that all Christian movie makers are not going to want to put on film, right? If you wanted to make a movie out of my life, that is going to be a horrible, bloody movie, right? So it's just, I would like to see movies where it's actually sort of true to life stuff. You're telling a story, and here's this messed up dude, violent, bloody, doing horrible things, and then you get to his real struggles and what he goes through, and then, you know, he has some conversion. I'd love to see that, but, you know, the secular crowd generally doesn't want to make stuff like that, and the Christian crowd doesn't want to make stuff that's got, you know, violence and that kind of stuff in it. So
briefly, seriously, I think David is going to agree with me when I say nothing against your faith. You know me very well, but Christian movies are really not the way to win people over. They are very cringy. So please, they need to be.
I've seen a couple. I've seen one or two exceptions where I thought, this is a good movie. But the point is, ladies and gentlemen, you could have an epic Christian movie, right? You could have something absolutely epic. There are too many Christians with too many amazing stories out there. You could, if you did them well, make one of the most epic movies ever. But everyone's worried about, Christians aren't going to come see it if, you know, we have this violence or this cursing in there. No, if you made an awesome story, Christians would go see that. So
yep. Okay, let's get through this. Benjamin White, Sigmund Floyd, Soliticicid. What is that? May I discuss things with you too sometime? You can always discuss things with us. You should have put this into a super chat. We would have directly responded to it. Please do that again. Thank you. I am 9 key made a super chat, didn't say anything. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Sharon 61 Sunshine said, made a super chat and said, what are your thoughts on the Pensacola attack today? Did you follow that? I think it just happened right before we started or something.
Never heard anything about that. Was that
some Saudi Arabian guy today?
Really? Oh, okay. No, the only there was a Florida attack. I thought that was like an attack on it was like a UPS hostage situation. So if there was something else after that was like terrorist related, not a robbery, then yeah. So I'll have to look that up.
Yeah, there's apparently a shooting happened. I don't know when it happened.
I'm looking at the New York Times right now. 53 minutes ago said Florida shooting updates. Authorities say it's too early to know if it's terrorism, but right beside it, the Washington Post says the Pensacola shooting gunman was a military pilot from Saudi Arabia. So up in the air now. Notice. There's a tendency as soon as there's a terrorist attack to start, you know, talking about it and stuff like that. But we have to be careful because we've seen white supremacists carry out terrorist attacks. You could be a former Saudi military pilot and be mad because your wife left you and just go on a killing spree. And it doesn't really have a lot to do with your religion. You could just be an unstable person. So kind of have to wait. But if it does have something to do with terrorism, I'm sure we'll be commenting on it.
Yeah, the article actually says that it is a Saudi Arabia military pilot who was training in the U.S. But anyway, gonna wait on that. Further, thank you for the super chat, by the way, Sharon.
Oh, and by the way, thank you for alerting me to that because I had no idea this was even going on.
Okay, thank you for that too. Another verse said, how often do you think Muhammad would just... Oh, yeah, we read that. That was awesome. Another verse. Thank you. Jennifer, Veterans for Truth, said, do either one of y'all speak about Sabbatean Frankist? I did a video on the history of it and the infiltration. It was banned from YouTube within an hour. I have no idea. No, I have no idea. But thank you, Jennifer. Zuby Buzz said, no, it's not 72 virgins. It's a 72-year-old virgin.
There are lots of jokes like that. There's the 72 Virginians. They're the 72 virgins, but they're all nuns. So you have situations like that.
There are also serious ones that should be jokes, which like they're actually raisins or grapes.
But by the way, I'm looking at the story right now at the Washington Post. You still got to find out. It still could just be some guy who's mad about something. But it's a A Saudi Arabian military student opened fire with a handgun Friday at Naval Air Station Pensacola, leaving 3 people dead and several others wounded before sheriff's deputies shot and killed him. So that's kind of along the same lines as the Fort Hood shooting, in the sense that there are Muslims who want to wage jihad, but there are some Muslims who believe it's okay to go and kill civilians and so on, but there are others who only want to wage jihad against some sort of foreign military because they believe that this foreign military is responsible for attacks on Muslim lands, and so they feel comfortable killing military people. So the fact that this is a shooting, that has something to do with the military, that makes it sound more like terrorism. Although, again, we have to wait for more info to come in, like a manifesto or a video that this guy posted or something like that. Because they usually want people to know why they're killing if it's a terrorist attack.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let's go through the super chat. So what it said, well, David, I do love a challenge, but I'm broke. Oh, that was in reference to your super chat challenge to make as many super chats to not let me get through it. But yeah, thank you. Paul Bezina said, David, how did Muhammad manage to change the mind of an omnipotent, omniscient God regarding reducing daily prayers from 50 to 5? It is this is in reference to
the power of negotiation. Muhammad's brilliant negotiating tactics. And really, I mean, if you look at Islam, Allah just loves Muhammad so much. Muhammad could have come back and said anything. Allah was going to conveniently go along with anything that Muhammad said. But that's true all over the place in the Muslim sources, right? If Allah says, hey, you guys get 4, Muhammad says, Allah, can't I have more? And Allah says, yes, yeah, Muhammad, I give you whatever you want. You're so great to me. So yeah, that's the situation.
Yeah, I made good fun of that when I talked about the topic about the Muhammad's night journey. It is a reference where in the Hadith Muhammad goes and meets Allah above in the sky, of course, and there Allah tells him to tell his followers to pray 50 times a day. 50 times a day. Can you imagine that? 50 times a day. Allah, the Almighty Creator who created humankind, demands that His creation prays 50 times a day in 24 hours. Of course, I believe that. And Muhammad then
why not 50 million?
Muhammad then walks back, said Muhammad is okay. Muhammad is of course a total whatever. He just says, okay, sure, we'll do that. He walks back, and then Moses says to him, hey, your people can't do that, you should reduce that. And then Muhammad goes back and says, hey, Allah, come on, let's come to an agreement, let's reduce this. And then Allah says, fine, let's do 45. And then he goes back again, and Moses stops him and says, that's too much, reduce it. And then he goes back again to Allah and says, come on, Allah, man, let's reduce this. I'm your holy prophet, you love me so much. And in the end, they come down to 5 through Muhammad's supreme Arab haggling skills.
Yeah.
That's basically the story. If you don't want to laugh about that with your butt, it's just I don't know. You're not
and by the way, that's an obvious. That was clearly stolen from an Old Testament story where God said He was going to destroy a city because it was so completely evil that when a traveler would show up in the town, they would just gang rape the dude and stuff like that. Yeah. So God said, look, this town is so horrible. I'm gonna destroy this town. And Abraham says, what if there are 50 righteous people in there? You wouldn't destroy it if there are 50 righteous people, even if everyone else is horrible. If there were some righteous people in there, you wouldn't destroy it then, right? And God says, look, if there are 50 righteous people in there, I won't destroy it. He says, okay, well, what about? And he starts going down until he gets down to 10. Says, if there are 10 righteous people there, will you not destroy it? And God says, if there are 10 righteous people in that town, I won't destroy it. There weren't. So that's the story. So anyway, that's the situation you have with the story of it's clear that Muhammad is hearing these stories from Jews and so on, and then adapting them and saying what use he can make of them. But it just, this this negotiating the number of prayers, and Allah really wants him to start with 50. But since Muhammad is negotiating,
so someone said, wait, where is that? That's kind of funny. Someone said in the comment section, David Wood said in the Atheist Republic chat that he is a psychopath, but I don't believe that because he looks like a very nice guy. So I would say don't be fooled by David Wood appearing like a very nice guy here on screen. When I first met David Wood, when I went to Arizona to first meet him, I went to sleep at night, and then I woke up like in the morning around 3, and I found David Wood standing next to me and have a knife in his hand and say stuff like, do you feel comfortable? Stuff like that. I'm just kidding. David, what do you want to say about psychopaths?
Oh yeah, guys. One, I am a nice dude, but two, guys, you have to learn what psychopaths are, right? Probably 98% of the psychopaths you will ever meet in your lives are going to look like very nice guys, right? They're not nice guys unless they find some reason to be nice guys. They're not going to be nice guys, but they're going to look like nice guys, right? Everyone who commented on Ted Bundy, one of the most notorious serial killers in history, he was such a nice guy. I can't see how he would do any of this, right? Why? They learn how to blend in as nice guys because they're constantly calculating in their mind how to get over on people and stuff like that. So yeah, don't let that be your criteria. Now, if you want to spot a psychopath, you have to catch him in some situation where he has not learned how to mimic other people's emotional reactions, right? Because they start picking up on this stuff even when they're kids. Oh, this is how people react when this happens, and they start copying it, right? So they can blend in. If you ever want to spot one, then catch him when something new happens that he's not experienced before, not been close to other people when they're experienced before, and see if this guy's behaving in a really, really not normal fashion. And then you can start suspecting the guy.
Awesome. Someone said I have that I have social problems. I have an anxiety disorder, by the way, everyone. So I just want to say that too, so I can feel cool about my problems. I'm not without it. So yeah. Mm-hmm. Zoke1237CI said, is Allahu Akbar really a Freudian slip, accepting that Allah not being the greatest but just great? By the way, what do you think of Mind's procreators? It is funny. The story is apparently, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't really have this very well in my memory. That the Muslims go to a fight, mm-hmm. and the opponents of the Muslims, the polytheists, the mushrikun, mm-hmm. say that their god Hubal is.
I think it's Hubal. Yeah. And so that's the origin of the phrase in the Islamic sources. They were saying Hubal is great, and the Muslims yelling back, Allah is greater. So Allahu Akbar. But you're right. It is sort of a silly thing to say. Allah is greater rather than Allah is greatest, right? But so Allahu Akbar. And so the way you would take it nowadays is just Allah is greater than whatever it is you believe in. And so,
yeah. So it's a pissing contest, the Islamic slogan. But thanks for the super chat, Zoke. Phil210 said, any idea what PBUH wanted to really write when he was breathing his last? Do you mean what he wanted to reveal when he was in his deathbed? Is that what this question is referring to? Do you understand what that means, David?
No.
I'm not exactly sure what you are referring to, Phil. But if you want to rephrase that, I will keep an eye out here in the comment section. I would love to go into that. But thanks for the super chat. Mark Felker said, just showing your support. What do you think of Bill Warner and his website, politicalislam.com? Thank you for the super chat, Mark Felker. I think it is quite impressive. It is a nice collection of criticism and of analysis on Islamic sources and the mindsets of political Islamists and Islamic history, just as well as it has a lot of information on how Muhammad was politically and militarily, and what we are dealing with when we are dealing with Islam. I also interviewed Bill before. He's a very nice guy. He's a very friendly, very sweet old man. So.
No, I've done when we used to do shows, the show Jesus or Muhammad, had Bill on there a couple times, and also been to a conference with him. But yeah, so he's kind of in a. It's interesting that different people do different things. My criticisms of Islam and AP's criticisms of Islam are primarily source-based. In other words, we go through the Muslim sources and we point out the problems in the Muslim sources. A lot of Bill's critiques are sort of like statistics-based, like he'll accumulate massive amounts of data on jihad over the centuries and stuff like that, and where attacks took place and so on. But especially his stuff like comparing the Crusades and jihad and stuff like that is phenomenal, and the graphics he makes and stuff like that. So yeah, it's kind of a different way of responding, but yeah, as far as the data that he compiles, it's good resource, and it's kind of different from the stuff that we put out. So.
Yep. Okay. Well, thank you for your super chat and for your question, Mark. Cheryl R said, "No shout out necessary, but where's your stickers, AP? I rarely ask questions, and super stickers are fun." Oh, I actually disabled those because I found them annoying. To be very honest, I found them annoying down there. I thought they distract from the whole thing, so I kind of
everyone unsubscribe from AP until he makes these stickers available.
No, seriously, I thought people are paying money to buy these super stickers. What is this? What kind of garbage is that? So I disabled that, but I didn't know people would actually be interested in that. So I'm very sorry. I'll put that back if people want to. Thank you, Cheryl, for the super chat. Nevertheless, I always appreciate reading from you, and you can always put your emojis and your thoughts into the super chat if you are ready to pay something, you know. So, but if you prefer that, please. The lovely Manta Ray too said, "Tell David that I believe it was an evil spirit disguised himself as an angel that visited in a cave. Because why would an angel be scared of a dog?" Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, those are the main options, right? If you're trying to decide whether to believe in Muhammad, if you're an atheist, in other words, if you don't believe in a spiritual realm, then your options would kind of be either this guy is insane, so he believes what he's saying, but he's just nuts, or he's deliberately being deceptive. He's inventing his religion as he goes along. If you're a Christian, you have a little more options. You have one that he was actually spiritually disturbed, that he is a victim of spiritual attacks. I would actually believe in a sort of combination. I believe that some of this is spiritual, and I would believe that some of this is just him being mental. And but yeah, I would have to agree that if you're talking about an angel of the Almighty, the mighty Gabriel, being terrified of dogs, that's just silly. Whereas, it's weird to say that demons are scared of dogs or something like that. I don't know what kind of good evidence we have, except for sort of experience. I just had people tell me that, their dog will just start flipping out and barking at something up in the corner and stuff like this. And they could feel evil in the room, but their dog is flipping out. And so some people believe that dogs can actually sense things that we can't, in ways that ways that they can hear things that we can't. I don't know if that's true at all. What the serious part is the idea that an angel would be afraid of dogs, right? That's pretty ridiculous. An angel could just crush a dog like a bug if it wanted. So problem there.
Whenever I look at my dog, and I have a very sweet dog. David appreciates my dog very much. He asked me if it came with a purse. We have a Labradoodle. So when I look at my dog, I just think seriously, like the angels of Allah are disturbed by this dog, are scared of this dog. That is the most ridiculous thing that I've heard. Seriously. By the way, earlier someone made a super chat and talked about Phil 210, talked about any idea what Muhammad wanted to really write when he was breathing his last. I didn't get the reference. I now understand what you mean. I think you're referring to the incident where Muhammad was reportedly wanting to write something on a paper before his death. And it was he said, "Let me write you something down that will prevent you from ever going astray." And then his companions said, "No, don't. You are delirious right now." So they took it away and they didn't let him write it down. That's the incident. I never actually studied that incident very much.
Me neither.
It has some weird implications, like people don't trust the Prophet of Allah in making a revelation. The other thing is, it implies that people don't want any source but the Quran to be out there to guide Muslims. But it is an interesting question. I have no idea what he wanted to write down. He was apparently in his deathbed. He was delirious, as Muslims themselves say it. We will never know. He died in a very painful way. We shouldn't laugh about that. Let me see. Have you ever met a Muslim apologist? James SC said, have you ever met a Muslim apologist who actually wanted to debate the ideas rather than attack your character and credibility with ad hominems? Apostate, Prophet, and Acts 17 apologetics. I have personally not seen many Muslims who are honestly up for a debate without going into any personal issues. I would love to see that. I really, I am so serious. I would love to see Muslim apologists, Muslims, come and say, hey, I have an issue with your criticism of Islam here and here and here. Let us discuss this. Instead, they just come with, hey, you are a whatever. You are an incest-endorsing, Islamophobic gay person, and I will crush you, and your mother stinks. That's usually how it goes. So
yeah.
There's not much.
Yeah, I believe there are Muslims who are sincere, and they sincerely believe that Islam is true, and they believe that Islam can stand up to scrutiny, and that it's superior to other views, and they're happy to have these kinds of discussions. Nabil was like that, right? Nabil would love to sit there, and I never thought that Nabil was trying to deceive me or anything else like that. Even in the debate world, Farhan Qureshi, who no relation to Nabil, but I had, probably 5 or 6 debates with Farhan. Actually, a couple more, because he eventually left Islam, but wasn't a Christian. So we had a couple debates on Christian topics as well. But Farhan Qureshi used to be a member of the Muslim Debate Initiative and so on. You always got the sense that this is a very, very, very cool, very nice guy and stuff like that. And he's not trying to get over on anyone. He really believed what he was saying and stuff like that. So yes, there are Muslims. Unfortunately, they're kind of overshadowed by the Muhammad hijabs and Ali Dawas of the world right now, and I believe that's only going to increase.
Yeah. But thank you, Jennifer, for your super chat. No, thank you, James, for your super chat. Jennifer, Veterans for Truth, made another super chat and said, "You all don't know about the false prophet." Oh, you're talking about Sabbatai Zevi. That's it was a big deal and still affects things now. And I would be glad to do a live with you all to discuss that. I am particularly actually familiar with the person, the Sabbatean Zevi, who was a self-proclaimed prophet in Judaism, because he lived in Turkey, in what was back then the Ottoman Empire, in Constantinople, and I think he was persecuted, and he lived the last years of his life in the west of Turkey, and he's kind of considered by Jews to be, I don't know, a false messiah or something like that. But Muslim conspiracy theorists in Turkey love to reference him as being behind all the evil that is currently going on in Turkey. So I don't really look well at such conspiracy theories, Jennifer. But if you like to do that, go ahead. I don't think I can add much to that discussion. David, are you familiar with the topic at all? Or?
No, not really. I think he's one of those medieval cabal guys. Yeah.
I think he was. They're in Turkish known as the Dönme, which is like the apostates, because they were a Jewish group that was forced to convert to Islam. So they converted to Islam, but they were still secretly Jews, and they kind of had their own Kabbalah sect that they kept going on. And
not my
prophet or so.
Yeah, not my field there.
Me neither. The lovely Manta Ray too said, "Tell David that I believe it was an evil spirit." Okay,
you already read that.
Oh, you made that super chat twice. Okay, well, thank you. To be seen, apparently. That's good. Nice. Thank you so much. James SC said, "How do you both decide how much you want to make material aimed at non-Muslims versus material aimed at Muslims to try and make them leave? And how do you balance your tone between those different aims?" If I speak for myself, I would say my initial goal was never to talk to Muslims. That is something that has developed quite recently, actually, where I feel like more and more Muslims tell me that they have left Islam, that they have listened to me and understood that their religion is wrong, and that kind of motivates me to actually go into talking to Muslims directly and telling them that there is something wrong with their religion, because I see that it has some great impact, and it makes me very proud and happy. But in general, recently I have been focusing on such things too, where I talk to Muslims and say, hey, your religion is wrong in these ways, and it fools you and it fooled me. But I can't really say that I planned that, like, this is for the non-Muslim audience, this is for the Muslim audience. It just kind of happens. Mm-hmm. What do you say, David?
Yeah, I'm usually kind of day to day, like whatever is particularly interesting to me on a particular day or something like that, or whatever story's popping up or whatever pops in my head or whatever I'm reading at the time. I try to make videos about it. But so that's usually the day to day situation. But sort of long term, I'm kind of I kind of do whatever I think is needed at that time. In other words, if I don't see a lot of people doing something, but it needs to be done, then I'll kind of stick with that for a while. So, one of the reasons I started blasting away at Muhammad and the Quran was that it seemed massively important to do, but almost no one was doing it. So that's kind of why I put so much emphasis on it. Not because I thought it was the most interesting thing in the world. There were all kinds of things I would rather be doing. I just kind of felt like that was needed. Lots of other times, if I'm criticizing Muhammad, it's sometimes it's just some guy's running his mouth, and I'm like, look, you're talking a bunch of trash there. Guess what? I'm not going after you. I'm going after your prophet. And that's why you have situations like with the guys like, Muhammad Hijab and Ali Dawa and Ijaz and all these guys. They post, they say a bunch of nasty stuff about, someone online, and I'll see that and I'm like, hey, that's my friend. Or they do something dirty. If they pull dirty stunts, if they're deceptive or something like that, a lot of that is like, oh, okay, I was going to be doing this, for the next several months, but instead now I'm gonna make Muhammad's Boom Boom Room. I'm gonna start that off. So I wasn't gonna make that, but since you did it, just like after Nabil died, tons of Muslims were sending me messages saying seeking Jesus finding cancer, right? No, I didn't insult them back. I didn't talk trash back, but I was like, okay, well, if you guys want to take things to this level, keep in mind your prophet is wide open for criticism, right? So it's basically, I sort of set my tone and this, the stuff I'm doing kind of based on, whoever I'm interacting with at the time. And if people get really, really nasty, keep in mind your prophet is such an easy target. Why? It seems that Muslims in the chat should be as nice as possible, right? They should be coming to us. We just want to be friends. We all want to be friends with you. Please don't be mean to us, right? It seems they should be doing that. When they come with nastiness and insults and threats and comments and lies, and when they do that, it's just, guys, I was, a lot of times I'm trying to get along, so I don't want to be too mean about your prophet. But if you're all just going to send me death threats and everything else and insult my mom and all this stuff, then I'm not holding back this time. And then they complain, why did you make Islamicize me? Why are you mocking our prophet? Well, guys, you started it. I mean, your religion started it long before I ever existed. Your religion talked about me way before I ever said one word about your religion. So it was already on as far as I'm concerned. But when you get nasty, it just makes it to where, all right, I'm not going to hold back anymore. So that's the situation.
Yeah, awesome. Okay. Let's put this one here. Muhammad Hijab is a jihadist. Okay. I'm not making any accusations here. I'm just, someone said Muhammad Hijab is a jihadist, and in the literal sense, of course, Muhammad Hijab is in his own Muslim mindset waging a jihad in order to intellectually defend Islam from us dirty enemies of Islam and of Allah. So don't take this as an accusation or anything, Muhammad Hijab, please. Joshua Sage made 2 super chats and didn't say anything, but thank you so much, Joshua Sage. I appreciate that very much. The lovely Manta Ray keeps making super chats, and I love it. said, will you do a video on how the dog murdering prophet died? David Wood made a video on how Muhammad died. It is a very prominent video. I'm going to make a video about that also in the near future sometime.
Yeah, you guys know it's funny. I want to. There's a Christian speaker. His name's J. Warner Wallace. He used to be an atheist. He was a cold case detective for years, and eventually became a Christian. But this guy spent years. I've seen him on like documentaries about how so and so was captured. I look on there. That's J. Warner Wallace being investigated on how they solved this cold case and stuff. But anyway, I've been thinking I'm gonna have to pitch it to him. But I want to say, hey, J. Warner Wallace, you want to do a hilarious video? It's going to be about you, a cold case detective, investigating the death of Muhammad. And you're going to find out that Allah killed him, according to the Muslim sources. So yeah, that would be kind of an updated version of a video I made years ago called Who Killed Muhammad, which according to the Muslim sources, Allah killed Muhammad for inventing a false revelation. That's the only conclusion you come to if you put these sources together and take them seriously. But yeah, I think that's something that could definitely be emphasized more. And my video, I think it has, I don't know, 1.4 million views, something like that. So a lot of people watched it, but I think it's pretty long. I wouldn't mind making a more condensed version of Muhammad's death because it is a powerful point. Just in case everyone isn't familiar with it, Surah 69, I believe, verses. Gosh, my brain is fried right now.
It's getting late. We should stop.
Yeah, it's in Surah 69. You can watch the video, but gosh, I know this. Surah 69 verses. No, I don't want to say it because it might be wrong. I think 44 to 46, but I'm probably wrong. It says Allah says that if Muhammad were to invent a false revelation, he would sever his aorta. And then years later, Muhammad died saying, "I feel my aorta being severed." So you actually have a lot more packed into there when you look at how Muhammad died and things like that. But it looks pretty bad. But yeah, so it's a powerful little point and cool stuff to put in a shorter video.
Awesome. So that's going to come. Nicholas Paulson made a super chat, said AP is smart as a whip. David is crazier than a dog in a hubcap factory and just as smart.
True.
I love the work both of you do, GBU. Thank you so much, Nicholas. I appreciate it. The lovely Manta Ray 2 said, when is Muhammad going to meet Moses in the Boom Boom Room? I'm a genius. I just checked the reference. Yes, it is Surah 69, verse 44 to 46. So awesome.
Even in a state of complete weariness on a topic I have not addressed in a long, long time. Good. All right, go ahead.
Go ahead. Someone said, when is Muhammad going to meet Moses in the Boom Boom Room? That's what the lovely Manta Ray 2 said.
Yeah, I already recorded that. I just haven't posted it yet. And part of the problem is I'm horrible at staying organized with SD cards. I have probably 50 or 60 SD cards. So when I misplace one, it's kind of hard to keep track. But we've already recorded Muhammad Meets Moses. We've recorded Muhammad Meets Sigmund Freud. That's AP. We've recorded Muhammad Meets R. Kelly. I probably want to do that next if I can find the SD card, because there's just a recent more news about R. Kelly broke out yesterday. That's with John McRae. What do you mean playing R. Kelly? And then we have Muhammad Meets Michael Jackson. One or two more, and then just so everyone knows, a couple days before the new Star Wars movie comes out, we're going to release Muhammad Meets Darth Vader, and they get into a discussion about how they treated their sons, right? How Darth Vader treated Luke, and how Muhammad treated his adopted son. And so they get into a discussion about that. And but right before Christmas, we want to release Muhammad Meets Santa Claus. That's where I'm going to Vocab's next week to record Muhammad Meets Santa Claus. But me and Vocab have been thinking about going live as Santa Claus and the Prophet Muhammad. So we'll see how that turns out.
Okay, it's coming soon. So let's keep going quickly. Google user made a super chat and said, a real prophet must fancy your wife and your 6-year-old daughter. Seriously, this is the reputation of Islam's Muhammad. What are we supposed to say about this? This is the reputation that your prophet has, and that your religion.
And by the way, isn't it cool that this stuff is becoming more and more known? Because it was the 1990s. It was the 1990s. I was in prison. I knew some Muslims, so I was studying a little bit. I didn't really start studying Islam seriously until I was friends with Nabil, but I studied a little bit on how to, what their beliefs were and stuff like that. But it was a Christian who told me Muhammad had sex with a 9-year-old girl. And I thought, there's no way, man. There's no way Muhammad had sex with a 9-year-old girl. No one would take him seriously. So for years, I thought that was something that someone made up, until I'm actually going through their source. I'm like, what? So it's cool that, just in the 1990s, there's no way. That's just completely false. And here we are, 2019, and almost everyone on the internet who deals anything with these issues knows this stuff. So it's becoming more of a problem. Mm-hmm.
Amazing. Thank you for your contribution, Google user. Thank you so much for reminding us of this great quality of Muhammad, the amazing prophet of the most morally supreme religion called Islam. A Google user said again, a real prophet must have a kid with his hot slave. Thank you for your contribution, Google user. Thanks for those very nice comments. Another verse said, Muhammad's final words, remember, my wives are forever off limits. And I was just kidding about that whole drinking camel urine thing. My bad. Thank you, another verse. Thank you for your super chat, and thanks for the for the laughter. Eris un Vencedor said, Elijah means God is with us, in a super chat. That's a reference to Muhammad Hijab.
Yeah.
During the debate, He said Elijah means God is with us, right?
Yeah, and of course, Allah prays for Muhammad, not to Muhammad. Just keep that in mind.
Just for Muhammad. For those who don't know, Elijah means God.
My God is Yahweh.
God is Yahweh, and he so forcefully claimed that Elijah means God is with us, and then claimed.
People ask me why I didn't respond. Some of what he said, I just wasn't paying attention anymore, because I was like, oh my goodness, these guys are total liars. But on that, I didn't respond to it, because he used that to respond to something I didn't bring up. Right? Like he apparently came with responses to things that he thought I was going to say that I never actually said, and so that one is supposed to be a response to to something about the meaning of Emmanuel, which is God with us. And he says, but Elijah means that too. But I didn't use that. So, so anyway, weird situation.
That is weird. But thank you again for the super chat. Eris un Vencedor also said Muhammad meets hijab. Oh yeah, I put it on the screen. A Google user made another super chat and said, "Please make a series on cat won't walk on a Quran." You made several videos about that, right? Like 2 videos or so.
I made 2 of those. I have thought about making a third, just because I made the first one and they walked all over the Qurans, but they were sort of a English and Arabic parallel, and then Muslims came up with this amazing rule that if it has, if it has a translation in it, in addition to the Arabic text, it's not a real Quran. The real Quran has to only be pure Arabic. So I said, okay. And I came back and did a follow-up video where it was just pure Arabic Qurans, and the cat walked all over it. But then the Muslim objection in the chat was, no, it has to just be one Quran and not multiple Qurans. And they're just inventing how this works as time goes on. The original claim was a cat will not walk on the Quran. You cannot make a cat walk on the Quran. I got a cat in like 2 seconds to walk all over the Quran. Not because I want to. I think it's the stupidest thing ever. But this is the level of argumentation in Islamic apologetics. So anyway, now they're saying, it only works if there's one Quran. So just notice how stupid that is, right? A cat will walk on multiple Qurans, but not on one Quran. This is the miracle of Allah, right? And it's not just because, hey, given an obstacle in the way, a cat will tend to walk around it, right? It's not bad. So anyway, I've thought about, putting together a bunch of those comments and then just saying, all right, here's one Quran and here's a cat walking right across it. But yeah, I don't know.
Okay. the lovely Manta Ray 2 made one more super chat. Thank you so much, the lovely Manta Ray 2, for these interactions. I have this thing when I feel like I'm going to forget responding to a super chat, it really makes me feel terrible. I feel like I've wronged someone. So please, from now on, let's not make any more super chats.
Yeah, that's where being a psychopath comes in handy, because I just miss all kinds of super chats, and like I should pull them up, but it's not something I feel bad about, because
see he doesn't feel bad about it.
I'm partly insane. So
I should be a psychopath. Yeah. If I want to come back again, I'll be a psychopath. Tell David Wood that he was gentle in that debate he had with Mohammed Hijab. I think so too.
But that was required, right? The agreements that we were both required to agree to was we're going to be friendly the entire time. We were not going to have any personal insults, personal attacks. We were not going to go off topic on anything. So we had to agree to all these things ahead of time. He agreed and then went down the list, breaking everything we had agreed to. And it's kind of a difficult situation where, what do you do then? And I've had people tell me, well, you should have thrown the rules out the window as well. Yeah. My inclination was to walk off stage. And I kind of went back and forth, because the debate I'd been in immediately prior to that, so before that, was me and Robert Spencer had a 2-on-2 debate versus two Shia Muslim scholars, and they did the exact same thing, but they did it at the very end, right when they were the last ones to speak. Every single thing we had been required to agree to, and that were the terms of the debate, in the last section where they were the last ones to speak, they went down the list and broke every last one of them, and then gave themselves additional time in order to keep doing it and stuff. So it was an amazing situation. But Robert was up. He's like, I'm leaving. He was about to get up and walk out when the guy was breaking the rules. And I was like, no, just stay calm, just chill. It'll be over. And then we'll leave. But afterwards I was kind of like, no, gosh, it's probably like 30% of the debates I'm in with Muslims. They demand that I adhere to certain rules, and then they break them. And it's like they're throwing it in my face. We do not have to honor our agreements with you guys. And over and again, I keep doing the same stupid thing, namely, okay, I agree to your terms, doing the debate, and then they break them. I keep doing that over and over again. So in the situation with Mohammed Hijab, is kind of, oh gosh, did I do this again? Did I do this? Did I fall for the same stupid thing again? And so it's what do you do in that situation? Well, my inclination in that situation, again, maybe I should have walked off stage and just said at the end of my opening statement, or the end of a part of the debate, hey, these were the terms, they've been broken, I'm out of here, and just grabbed my stuff and walked off stage. Maybe, but I think kind of more long term, and it's all right, do whatever you want, break all these agreements, get your cheers from your followers that you're insulting me while you're breaking your agreement. I'm going to go out and I'm going to annihilate your prophet after this. So you can blast me all you want. You can make fun of me all you want. You can get away with it. I'm not even going to respond, but I am going to demolish your prophet afterwards. And notice the result afterwards, Muhammad's boom boom room, right? So these guys bring this stuff on themselves, and then they whine that I make this stuff. So anyway, that's the situation there.
One more thing to add. I saw you said before that you wanted to, that you thought of leaving the debate because of him breaking the rules. He actually took this statement and turned it into something different. When he challenged me for a debate, he asserted to his Muslim audience, because he's always so honest, as a Muslim, because Muslims are exemplary moral qualities. He turned that around and said that you admitted that you felt uneasy and you were scared and you wanted to leave the debate and you wanted to walk off stage. He said that.
Now notice, everyone. I haven't seen what Mohammed Hijab said here, but AP says that he's claiming. David admitted that he was he just wanted to walk off stage after facing my wrath and so on. Notice, can these guys say anything truthfully? Can they say anything? What did I say? Look,
liars.
This guy completely violated in every way the terms of the debate. Why am I sitting? This is what I'm why am I sitting here on this stage when he's just going to keep breaking them? Why have I fallen for this so many times with Muslims? Why do I keep giving these guys the benefit of the doubt? how do you keep them? Because you can say afterwards, you can say, hey, after the debate, you can say, hey, he broke all the terms of this debate and stuff like that. And then, but guess what? Their followers don't care. So it doesn't matter to them. So the issue is, what do you do? Robert wants to walk off stage. And so I eventually concluded, yeah, maybe you should just walk off stage to kind of make a point. And everyone says, why, but notice how that would have been represented. He walked off stage because he was terrified of my powerful arguments. And it wouldn't matter that they broke the terms of the debate. So I just still haven't figured out what to do in those kind of situations. But it is just a problem that these guys have followers who do not care that they lie. Notice even after, when I say, hey, because he lied about the terms of the debate and he lied about honoring these terms, I wanted to walk off stage. Then he goes to these same followers who do not care at all that he lied, and then says, David said he was so troubled by my brilliant arguments that he wanted to leave. He's admitted this. It's this guy's fans, the reason that he gets away with this, the reason that he keeps doing this is because he has so many fans who just don't care. What is up with this religion producing these kinds of adherents?
All right. By the way, last time you talked to me about Kanye West's album, I listened again to a few songs of it, and I thought I was actually impressed this time by how musically nice it was. Just wanted to say that for all those who were interested last time. Now, before we go, let's quickly talk about the Cybertruck. Okay. I'm not going to do that. Honestly, the Cybertruck. Some people mentioned it already because I keep mentioning it as a little gag. But it's a very interesting vehicle. For some reason, people think that that the design is weird and it will not be successful. I don't think so at all. I'm a person who, as a man who was never interested in cars and vehicles and whatever, I always thought, what are you talking about? Care about more important things in life. But when I saw that Cybertruck, I thought, wow, this is huge, man. This is awesome. This is some amazing new thing. The Cybertruck is the new Tesla truck that is going to be introduced to within the next few years. For everyone who doesn't know.
One quick comment here. Peace said, David, make sure you should be the one who concludes the debate next time. Well, yes, I was supposed to. That was on the schedule. The moderator switched it at the very end. You can even see me go, what? You're making me go first? But yeah, it was the same situation. Fine. You want to change it up? You want to not enforce the rules? Fine. I'll go along with it. But afterwards, I'm going to wreak havoc on your profit. I'm just going to do it. And really, it's that's sort of the topic of this live stream is Muslim apologists and their attacks. Notice I rarely respond to the attacks, but I consistently go after Muhammad. And that's kind of my reaction is when these guys do something nasty or something like that, I don't have much of an inclination to go back after them or to respond in kind. It's just, I don't know. It's kind of, I can only describe it as like a kind of energy or something like that. But when they're blasting at me, that energy gets redirected towards their prophet. And then I just end up blasting their prophet. So if you love Islamicize Me or Muhammad's Boom Boom Room or some of the awesome videos I made blasting away at Muhammad, you can thank Muslim apologists and some of their fans for all the nasty things they've done over the years and the nasty things they've said, because without it, I would be responding to other stuff. And you atheists should be thanking them, because I would probably be responding to it. My background is atheism. I'm more interested in that. I'm more interested on an intellectual level in the arguments of atheist philosophers and stuff like that. That's what my background is. And I'm more interested in that stuff. I just deal with Islam. Again, primarily, I sort of started with it because it's needed. Someone needs to be doing this. But a lot of the really just brutal critiques, those are the results of Muslim apologists and their fans doing dirty stuff.
Yeah. Atheists don't have to thank everybody. Don't tell atheists to thank anybody. Atheists don't have to do anything. Atheists are free to not thank whoever they want. Another suggestion is for the next debate, not only end the debate, for the next debate, go with a Cybertruck to the debate, so to have some motivational boost. That said, the chat was supposed to be 1 hour. Now it's a little bit over an hour. It's almost 3 hours. But thank you all so much. I really enjoyed this. We'll hopefully be here again every week on Fridays. Should be shorter next time. Should be shorter all the other times. David Wood doesn't feel bad when he ignores your super chats. So when we have it on David Wood's channel, you can benefit from this from the psychopath, and we'll have it only for 1 hour. If you are with me, you are stuck with me, and we'll go about 4 hours. But thank you all so much. Thank you for joining in. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your comments, for your amazing contributions and remarks. And we love you all too. At least I do. I cannot speak for David.
I do, but it's a Christian sense of love where it means you sort of, want the best for people, not a warm, fuzzy feeling.
No, I have warm, fuzzy feelings for everybody. Okay.
Do those feelings come with a free purse?
Okay. Do you want to say a last word, David?
Yeah, I'll just say stay away from Islam.
Whoa, stay away from Islam. Thank you, everybody.
That's my new catchphrase.
You stole that from me. Stay away from Islam.